Yeah, you tuned into the right place. Welcome to the rain. Golden Queuing. H2.0. Yeah. Yeah. You're looking for a diamond, found a treasure in the rough. Tired of all the noise, cause you finally had enough. I'm here to build a movement on a mission for the nation. Dropping gems of knowledge, killing all the hesitation. We fighting for the truth, yeah, we fighting for what's right. Building unity and shining up a brand new light. It's a variety channel, but the vision's crystal clear. Pushing us all forward, conquering the doubt and fear.
Welcome to the Queendom, H2.0 on your screen, where the content's real and smart and funny in between. This is more than just a stream, it's a platform for the change. Time to elevate the game and rearrange. If you're ready for a vibe that you can feel and trust, joining in the movement is a definite must.
This ain't just another channel talking smack behind the screen. It's a spotlight for the creators, building up a better scene. Spreading radical love, that's the message and the code. Helping everybody carry up a heavy load. From social justice issues to the laughter that we need. Planting seeds of progress, watch them grow from just a seed. This is authentic, this is raw, this is everything you saw. Welcome to the battle that is truly being fought.
Ooh, so come with your respect and see the real effect. Cause I protect my own right here on the throne. Don't make me envy. Unleash the dragon.
Subscribe, ring that notification bell. Yeah, you don't wanna miss a thing. Welcome to the family. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm chasing the check, but the weight of the world is a chain on my neck. Money, 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 money. Yeah, check the clock, check the pace, check the greed. Everybody's sprinting just to get what they need. They don't care about the person, they don't care about the heart. Just a number on a ledger trying to tear the soul apart. Getting paid by the hour, yeah, they stacking up the stress. While the people at the bottom try to clean up the mess. It's a cycle, it's a system, it's a cold-blooded race. They'll look you in the eye while they try to take your space. For love of the trading our time for a flick of love. They'll sell the truth just to get the pay. Doesn't matter who you are, they're gonna look the other way. For that lean green, lean green. The hustle's got us on our knees. I need the racks, but not like that. No, I need to win, but keep the facts straight. Everybody's acting for the digital stage, selling out their spirit for a click on the page. Clickbait the drama, monetize the fake. How much of your integrity are you willing to stake? They're getting paid to hollow out everything we seek. The bank account is heavy, but the character is weak. Check the status symbol, check the bottom line. The pressure of the climb's gonna drive us out our mind. Chasing down the bonus, is it worth the cost of time? Got to have it, I'd rather have the truth. Stop trading all our wisdom in the fire of our youth. Don't be a ghost for a paycheck.
Hey y'all, what's up? What's up? What's up? It's your girl Golden. I am back today, y'all. Back to the regular scheduled program. Per usual, y'all. Y'all know we got some political stuff to get into. I've seen a few interesting updates as far as what is going on in the political scene. And I just wanted to come and talk about some of that here with y'all. A lot of these things we know is going to be, affecting us as people, as citizens, not just here in the United States, but worldwide. So I did want to talk about a few of those things today with y'all. Welcome, 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 everybody. I know Mama is here. She's watching from the back. Star is here. Hey, Star, what's going on? And hello, Daisy. How you doing, Daisy? Thanks for coming in. I appreciate that. So, y'all, it's about 1:53 p.m. here, Eastern Time in the United States and the Carolinas. The weather is really nice outside today. So after, all of the lives and stuff are done, I am going to be taking to the outdoors, y'all. I'm going to spend some time out in nature. I'm going to take my boy out, and we're going to get some of this nice weather and catch it while we can, y'all, because here in this city, 1 minute is warm, 1 minute is cold. We never know what we're going to have. But it's very beautiful today, and the sun is shining bright. So let me go ahead, y'all, and get into what we'll be talking about on the live. I do hope that you all are having a beautiful Sunday in whatever respectful time zone that you're in, whether it's morning, afternoon, evening, or night. I hope y'all are having a beautiful day. And, some good vibes and some good energy, maybe some good food. You know what I mean? But let's go ahead and get into the synopsis of what we're going to be talking about on this live, y'all. So the political landscape, as we know, is shifting by the hour. It continues to change and move in all different directions. But today, we're going to be diving into the massive deployment of ICE agents to the U.S. airports at the TSA that are facing a staffing crisis during a government shutdown. Also, we'll be talking about San Francisco jury and how they are finding Elon Musk liable for misleading Twitter investors, potentially costing them billions of dollars. We also will be covering the No Kings protest that is sweeping the nation right now against Operation Metro Surge, which is the explosive, Operation Metro Surge is explosive, and it was included in Project 2026. So there's a Project 2026 now, y'all, that is being created. We'll talk about that. Reports that are targeting women's voting rights. And we got to talk about Afroman and his historic First Amendment victory against the police. So we'll be getting into all of those topics on this live. So the first one we'll be getting into is the airport takeover. ICE agents are now going to be replacing TSA agents. A partial government shutdown leads to a historic deployment of immigration agents into domestic travel hubs. Look at your boarding passes, y'all. If y'all are getting on planes and flights and stuff like that, please be very careful because the rules of travel just changed. President Trump has officially announced that ICE agents will begin deploying to major U.S. airports starting Monday morning. The Department of Homeland Security is currently in a partial shutdown. Democrats in the Senate are refusing to fund the agency until there are new codes of conduct for federal agents following the fatal unalivings of protesters in Minnesota. Because of that said funding lapse, TSA is seeing a massive wave of resignations. These people ain't getting paid, y'all, because of these budget cuts and these funding lapses. At least 376 agents have quit just since February, which was last month. To fill the gap, because they are losing employees are walking away, Trump is deciding that he's going to send ICE agents. He specifically mentioned focusing on airports in Minnesota. Not surprised. Why does he have such an obsession with Minnesota? I don't know. Doubling down on his rhetoric against Somali residents there. While the administration claims ICE is just there to help with perimeter security, civil rights groups are terrified that this will lead to warrantless immigration checks for domestic travelers. If you're heading to the airports tomorrow, because y'all know tomorrow is Monday, you aren't just dealing with long lines. You will be dealing with a surge of possibly federal agents who are not trained for civilian aviation security. So we got to get into that, y'all. That is very serious. That's going to be the first thing we're going to talk about, okay? Then we'll be talking about the Musk verdict. And when I say Musk, we're talking about Elon, liable for misleading investors. So a federal jury in San Francisco orders Elon Musk to pay up for his 2022 Twitter antics. Elon Musk has just got hit with a bill that even a billionaire will feel. On Friday, a San Francisco jury found Elon Musk liable for misleading investors during his 2022 acquisition of Twitter. The class action lawsuit proved that Musk's tweets, specifically the one saying the deal was temporarily on hold, intentionally drove down the stock price. The jury awarded damages between $3 and $8 per share, which analysts say are totaling roughly now $2.1 billion. While the jury didn't find the scheme to defraud, they were very clear. He lied, and it cost everyday investors their savings. Musk's team is planning an appeal, of course, but for now, this is a landmark win for market accountability. It proves that a tweet can be a legally binding and legally expensive statement. We also will be talking about No Kings and the national uprising. Millions of Americans prepare for the largest day of the protest in U.S. history on March 28th. No Kings movement is no longer just a hashtag. It is a national mobilization. This Saturday, March 28th, next Saturday, it's Sunday. So yeah, this Saturday, y'all, on March 28th, a coalition of over 200 organizations is calling for 12 million people to take to the streets. This movement was ignited by Operation Metro Search and the tragic unalivings of, y'all remember we talked about Alex Preddy, Renee Good, and Keith Porter by federal ICE agents. The protesters are demanding an end to what they call Trump's authoritarian agenda and the terrorizing of American cities by unidentifiable federal officers. Organizers say they are aiming for 3.5% of the population to actually participate, a tipping point that historians say is enough to force systemic change. From Minneapolis to Portland, the message is simple. We have a president, not a king. We also will be getting into the global freeze, world leaders versus Trump. Traditional alliances collapse as international leaders sideline the U.S. president. We are witnessing a global freeze. At a recent Nordic summit in Oslo, leaders from Denmark, Norway, and Finland stood with Canada's Prime Minister, Carney, to openly denounce the Trump administration. The Danish Prime Minister, Mette Frederiksen, I hope I'm saying that right, thanked allies for helping Greenland resist unacceptable pressure from the United States president. Meanwhile, Norwegian Prime Minister stated flatly that Trump's escalating tensions with Iran are not our war. As international military and trade alliances collapse or reform without U.S. involvement, Washington is becoming an island. The American First policy is rapidly becoming America alone. And also, we will be talking about Project 2026 and how it is targeting women. We will hear from none other than the iHip News platform. My girl, Jennifer and Pumps, they're going to be over there talking, okay? Also, on the I've Had It podcast, both of those two are their platforms. But y'all should be pretty familiar with them because y'all know I play a lot of their content. But they'll be talking about that with us today. A new policy blueprint suggests a direct assault on the 19th Amendment in voting access. The beautiful ladies from iHip News are breaking down the terrifying details of Project 2026. This is the sequel to Project 2025, and it is even more extreme. The Heritage Foundation's new blueprint explicitly calls for an open war on women's rights. Beyond banning medication, Abortion nationwide. Project 2026 targets the very way women vote. It pushes for a total federal ban on mail-in ballots, a method used by millions of working mothers, and introduces a strict new proof of citizenship hurdles. Critics, including MS Magazine, argue that this is a calculated attempt to suppress the votes of those most likely to oppose the current administration's agenda. They are trying to rewrite the rules of the 2026 midterms before they even begin. We'll be getting into all of that. And last but not least, we got to talk about Afroman's victory. The First Amendment wins. So, rapper Afroman defeats the police in a viral defamation trial over lemon pound cake. Listen to the high note for free speech, okay? Afroman has officially defeated 7 Ohio deputies who tried to sue him for $4 million. After the police wrongly raided his house in 2022, finding 0 substances or Uggs, but plenty of lemon pound cake, Afroman used his security footage to make a series of diss track music. The deputies then went along to sue him for humiliation and emotional distress, but the jury saw right through it. Outside the court, in his iconic American flag suit, Afroman told the crowd, "We did it, America. Freedom of speech." Of course, we'll have none other than Reese Waters, who will be talking a little bit about that. And there are others that are hailing in on this as a massive win for artists. If the police raid your house and find nothing, you have every right to tell the world exactly how it all went down. So yes, y'all, those will be the topics we'll be getting into on this live. Y'all give me just a moment. I'm going to go ahead and get our first video up here, and we'll be talking about, like I said, Trump and how now we have ICE officers that are supposed to be taking the place of TSA officers, or TSA agents, I would say, because they have been quitting and walking away. And so now ICE officers are going to be stepping in and taking their place, and Lord knows how that is going to go. But let's watch this video together on these reports, and I will meet y'all over in the chat.
On Truth Social, quote, "If the radical left Democrats don't immediately sign an agreement to let our country, in particular our airports, be free and safe again, I will move our brilliant and patriotic ICE agents to the airports, where they will do security like no one has ever seen before." Now, in a subsequent post, he said that he instructed ICE agents to be ready by Monday. And now the president is saying that you, sir, are going to be in charge. How is that going to work? Are ICE agents going to move into American airports starting tomorrow, Monday?
Yes. And I'm currently working on the plan now of execution, working with the director of ICE and the administrator at TSA, the acting administrator. So we'll put together a plan today, and we'll execute tomorrow.
Okay, so there are a lot of questions here. First of all, are ICE agents even remotely trained to handle security at airports?
ICE agents receive a high level of training. And, you know, the ICE agents are assigned at many airports across the country already. They do a lot of criminal investigation on smuggling at airports. But, you know, there's got TSA agents covering exits, people that enter through the exits. You know, certainly a highly trained ICE law enforcement officer can cover an exit, makes people don't go through those exits, entering the airport through the exits. And that stuff like that relieves that TSA officer to go to screening and to reduce those lines. So wherever we can provide extra security, I don't see an ICE agent looking at an x-ray machine because they're not trained in that. There are certain parts of security that TSA is doing that we can move them off those jobs and put them in the specialized jobs, help move those lines.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. So what you're saying is when you move ICE into airports, they are going to be just around the exits and the exteriors. They're not going to be helping people get through the lines and screening people's bags.
Those discussions are going on now. I'm not expert at TSA, so that's why I'm talking to the TSA administrator and the ICE director, find out where we can fit in. We'll have a plan by the end of today, where we're sending what airports we're starting with and where we're sending them. But that's the discussion we're having right now. I ended the discussion to do the show, and I'll be back having those discussions when I finish. So it's a work in progress, but we will be at the airports tomorrow helping TSA move those lines along.
And I know you said it's a work in progress, but at least at the beginning, are there specific airports that you're thinking about starting with? And how many ICE agents are you considering deploying to do this?
Again, that's going based on discussions we're having today. I think we need to, my opinion is that we concentrate on the airports where the longest waits are. We prioritize those. The large airports with those long wait, like 3 hours. I think we got to prioritize what we do like we do everything else. So again, having those discussions, continued discussions after the show with the leadership of those agencies will lead us to some decisions based on prioritization, where we deploy, how quick we deploy, how many agents we deploy. So right. Hopefully we'll have all those answers here by this afternoon, but we're working on it. And when we deploy tomorrow, we'll have a well thought out plan to execute.
With respect, if you're doing this in 24 hours, how well thought out could it possibly be?
Again, ICE has been at airports across the country for a long time. It's just expanding those things. Look, how much of a plan does it mean to guard an exit to make sure no one comes through that exit?
And
I mean, we're talking about security options, and these officers are well trained in security, and they're well trained in identification. And look, we're going to do what we can to help TSA move those people through the line.
And last question on this, because this is important, and I realize that this is clearly a plane that you're creating while it's in the air here, but this is a question that a lot of people are asking. Is it just going to be crowd control, or will ICE officers also be doing immigration enforcement while they are at the airports?
We do immigration enforcement at airports all the time. So is that going to change? It's not going to change. This is about helping the men and women at TSA. They've lost several hundred employees. The lines are really slow because of the shutdown. This is about helping TSA do their mission and get the American public through that airport as quick as they can. While adhering to all the security guidelines and the protocols, we're simply there to help TSA do their job in areas that don't need their specialized expertise, such as screening through the X-ray machine. Not training that, we won't do that. But there are roles we can play to release TSA officers from the non-significant roles, such as guarding an exit, so they can get back to the scanning machines and move people quicker. And we're just simply helping our fellow officers at TSA.
I'm going to bring in my panel now to respond to that. Welcome, one and all. Congressman Kiley, I should say the last time you were on the show, you were a Republican. Since then, you've switched your party affiliation to independent as you trying to work through the redistricting in your home state of California. What do you think about the idea of sending ICE to airports?
Well, the lines that people are having to deal with are a problem, a big problem. And so, anything we can do to make travel a little more seamless right now, I think is fine. But that is a very temporary and not ideal solution. What we need to do is fund the Department of Homeland Security. That'll get our TSA agents paid. That'll get our Coast Guard paid. That'll get FEMA funded. And we can do this in a way that reaches a bipartisan compromise around this issue related to ICE. I think there are common sense reforms that both sides can support, but having an unfunded Department of Homeland Security at a moment when we have this heightened threat environment in the United States, it is absolutely unacceptable. And it is such a clear example of how Congress is broken in so many ways.
Congresswoman Dingell?
Well, I agree with you that Congress is broken, but here's the fact of the matter. I have a lot of questions about what he said. Are they going to be wearing masks? What are the functions that they're going to be performing? Are they going to make it more complicated? Are people going to be more scared? Are they going to threaten people? Are people going to start to see people not even willing to travel because they're intimidated by them? Here's the reality. We could settle this tomorrow and fund TSA, FEMA, which, by the way, got gutted a year ago, not in this funding of Homeland Security by DOJ, and fund the Coast Guard and deal with the ICE issue, which has to be dealt with front and center.
Yeah, look, I think I associate myself with the gentleman's from California's comments, right? I think he's spot on. Look, Congresswoman, Tom Homan was up on the Hill negotiating, trying to get this bill passed in the Senate. You've seen the White House give on lots of things, cameras, identification on ICE. The White House has given and given and given. Fact of the matter is, Chuck Schumer is just a chicken shit. I'll say it because he's concerned that he's not going to be the majority leader. Doesn't want to pass anything that doesn't just blow up ICE. And so that's why we're stuck here. It's not anything to do. Everybody knows what has to be done. Chuck Schumer won't allow it to be done in the Senate. And that's where we are. American people, call the Senate, complain to Chuck Schumer, tell him to pass the bill now.
That's not
100% true, 100% accurate.
Well, I like to align myself with the Congresswoman. Surprise, surprise. Look, in what world do you think it's really a good idea for ICE to be at airports? In what world do you think the American public actually want that? When they have seen how ICE has behaved in cities, Republican and Democrat. Donald Trump and this administration is underwater with their immigration policies. Yes, they like how the border is being handled. They do not like how ICE is in their cities, and they sure won't like how ICE will be in their airports, especially when they're still going to have to wait in line with them there and them being fearful. This is not good politically. This is not good policy, and it's not good politically. That's my free advice. But the reality is, the reason what the Congresswoman was saying is, I think Americans are just like, can we let's take this piecemeal. TSA, pass it. If you obstruct TSA, I will have a problem with you. I don't think anybody on our side would actually obstruct it. Let's fund FEMA. No, we all have Schumer. I would.
Chuck Schumer would
not fund, not
supported bills. That. We've got a discharge petition to fund the other three. And are you going to? I want to give you one simple issue: the Constitution. Do you believe in the Constitution?
Of course I do.
And warrants? Do you not?
Oh no! Hold on. No, the warrant issue is completely that's a red herring because
no, it's not.
Yes, it is, ma'am. The Constitution has. These immigration officials, when they're going in these specific things, there are administrative procedures that allow them to go in. They're not going in without authorization. There's administrative, there's law that allows them to do this without a warrant in those instances.
And listen,
ICE agents here. Tom Homan, Barack Obama gave Tom Homan an award. Tom Homan is going to run this professionally. He's trying to help Americans get to where they're doing, eliminate the lines, alleviate American suffering. ICE isn't going to be there. The ICE
but he said he wasn't changing any policy.
So on this warrant issue, I'll say that I actually voted for a judicial warrant requirement in order to enter homes. I've also voted to say we should have agreements so that ICE is not operating near childcare centers or near schools. I think, and I've also supported, by the way, though, making sure that local jurisdictions honor detainer requests when they come for ICE for people who have committed crimes in addition to be in the country illegally. So I think that is the sort of compromise we need around this issue. I think that the things I just listed are supported by the vast majority of Americans. And so we need Congress to come together to reflect what the American people are asking.
And if anybody thinks that ICE is going to be with masks and like they're going to be they look like glorified TSA agents.
We don't know though.
Okay, well, show up at TSA tomorrow. DCA tomorrow. I'll be there tomorrow.
But listen, this is the thing. It's like this is also what blew my mind this Sunday morning. Is he's like, we haven't figured out the plan. We'll figure it out by tonight. Do you know how many airports are in America? Do you know how much,
or which ones we're even going to?
Well, they don't know how much training these ICE agents should have before they actually go out? What are we doing?
President Trump has said that if this is not resolved, he's sending ICE to the airports to fill in for TSA. Now, I'm not asking you to comment on the political element of this, but what's the training necessary to do that job effectively? How long does it take? How involved is it?
So to become a TSO, we have to go to FLETC, Federal Law Enforcement Training Camp. That's about 2 to 3 weeks, depending on your program. And then afterwards, you have about 2 additional months of training on the floor. We learn X-ray operations. We learn how to work, our walk-through, metal detectors. There's a lot of ins and outs of becoming a TSO. Those officers are not trained to do so. They're ICE. They're federal law enforcement in a different spectrum.
And so what's your degree of concern if that is what it comes to, that there will be ICE officers there doing the job of trained TSOs?
I think it's going to be terrible in all retrospects because, one, the fear-mongering, the aggression, they're cops at the end of the day. That's a whole other type of training. We're taught to be more so customer friendly. We're taught to be more so understanding of people's concerns. Law enforcement, that's not their realm.
Let me ask you, it's a peculiar question to ask as we're talking about people who are not being paid, but I read that you did this because you wanted to serve your country. Do you miss it? Do you miss the job?
Absolutely, I do. I miss the purpose. I think we've gotten away from the narrative of what we were there for and what TSA was created for. It gave me a purpose to put on my badge, to put on my uniform, to be proud to serve my community. And I feel like we've gotten away from that.
All right, y'all. So that was the first topic that I wanted to share with you guys to let y'all know some of the changes and stuff that's happening. So basically what we have heard here in that video is that President Trump, along with Tom Homan, have confirmed that ICE agents will be beginning to patrol U.S. airports to fill in the vacancies that have been left behind by TSA resignations during the partial government shutdown, which I don't blame TSA agents, right, for resigning with these government shutdowns, because literally they've become too, for me, they become too frequent. Like, the easy decisions that need to be made, handled, and finished. People should not have to be out of work and go without pay and paychecks because the government, officials and whatnot cannot come to a conclusion. And that is typically, or an agreement. That is typically why we see government shutdowns. And when those government shutdowns happen, there are individuals that are not getting paid. And people can't live without no money. Let's just be very clear. They got bills to pay, they got kids to feed, and food to put on the table. So people need their money. And so I don't blame TSA agents for resigning. However, there is a massive technical hurdle here, the training, right? And we did hear this one TSA agent speak to us about that. So the logistics and the harm. TSA and transportation security officers, which is TSOs, undergo weeks of intensive training at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, which is the FLETC. They are specialized in image interpretation, identifying IEDs, and prohibited items on x-rays, behavior detection, and civilian de-escalation. ICE agents, however, are trained for immigration enforcement and tactical operations, not for the nuances of the Fourth Amendment in a civil travel hub or technical operation of airport scanners. The harm here is twofold: a potential drop in actual flight security due to lack of technical expertise, and an increase in civil rights violation as technical agents interact with the general public. So let's talk about this support and why there is support when it comes to this. There are supporters that argue that ICE agents are real law enforcement compared to TSA. They believe that having agents with teeth will deter terrorists and criminals more effectively. To them, the lack of x-ray training is a minor detail that can be learned on the job, while the toughest of ICE is what's actually missing from the airports. The toughness of ICE is what's missing from the airports. So that's their argument. But in some final statements, I will say, safety at 30,000 feet depends on the technical precision of the people on the ground. Replacing highly trained x-ray technicians with immigration enforcement officers might solve a staffing crisis, but critics fear it creates a massive security blind spot in the name of political optics. So now, y'all, we're going to go ahead and get into our second topic for the live. And give me just a second to get that pulled up for y'all. And as we talked about, we're going to be getting into Elon Musk and the San Francisco jury. They have found Elon Musk liable for defrauding Twitter investors during the 2022 acquisition with damages that are estimating over $2 billion. So let's go ahead and get that video pulled up real quick and hear a little bit about this. Y'all, we knew something wasn't right with Elon Musk, allegedly. But I mean, if we got our ears and our eyes open, we already knew that man was a hustler and a scammer from day one. And now a lot of that is starting, I guess, to come to the forefront. People are seeing that. And there's some fights for justice when people are like, yo, we want our money back. rummy them pockets, you know? So let's go ahead and get into this video, y'all, and listen together. I will meet y'all in the chat. After this, we'll take a quick song break and we will get into our next topic for the live. All right, y'all, here we go.
We got a lot of breaking news this hour, folks, and we're getting back to the breaking news I mentioned at the top of the show. Learning of a jury in California finding Elon Musk liable for misleading investors by driving down Twitter's stock price in the months leading up to this accusation of the social media giant back in 2022, which he later renamed X. Want to go to Misty Maris, who's standing by for us on this. Listen, Misty, this is a pretty big deal, right? The purchase price, I believe at the time, was $44 billion. This was a civil trial. He's now been found liable of driving down that price. He's probably going to have to pay a hefty fine. Yes, he is one of the wealthiest, if not the wealthiest man in the entire world. But nonetheless, how is this playing out for you?
Yeah, this was interesting, an interesting trial to follow. So this related to 3 tweets during this critical time period of May 2022 until that Twitter deal closed in October of 2022. And so the jury has found him liable for those tweets, determining that they were materially misleading to and led to the damages of the shareholders who sold during that time when it caused that Twitter stock to tank. So now what's going to happen? The jury has said that there'll be in between $3 to $8 a day that these stockholders will be entitled to. And there's going to be a calculation, Yaz, relating to each individual stockholder, when they sold it, how many shares, what that means for them. So this could be thousands of people, and you're talking about significant damages that are going to be paid out. I should mention the jury did fall short of saying that Musk intentionally engaged in a scheme to defraud. So keep in mind, the legal standard here was either recklessly or intentionally. So looks like they thought it was reckless, but not necessarily a plan to really drive down that stock, as the plaintiffs had argued.
So we've got that in one bucket. There's another trial that we have been watching, obviously, for the last few weeks or so, and that is the social media trial. And it's about addiction involving apps like Instagram and Meta as well. What are we expecting there? We're waiting on a verdict.
Yeah. So this has been in jury deliberation since Friday. So now a week. I think the tally is up to 30 some hours. And I'm not surprised to see it taking a while, because remember, it's YouTube and Meta. The jury has to analyze it as if it were 2 separate trials. And then if they find liability, they have to determine damages. So it's a complicated analysis. You know, we're waiting here. I've been on verdict watch this whole week. You know what happens on Fridays, though? A lot of times you see that decision coming in. So we'll be here waiting to see if we, in fact, do get that verdict, largely consequential, not just for these 2 entities, but also for big tech overall.
Misty, thank you for being on this for us.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app, or watch live on our YouTube channel.
All right, y'all. So there, another great story. Oh, thank you, Daisy. Say, great reporting, Golden. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. But yeah, so, you know, Elon, we all was side-eyeing Elon. You know what I mean? I knew it was just going to be a matter of time until things started catching up. And look, I'm glad that they're catching up, because it's not good and it's not a great feeling for people to be scammed, cheated out of their money, investing their money in things, you know what I mean, just to lose it and get no payoffs in the end. So basically, y'all, what we have heard here about this story is that a federal jury has found Elon Musk liable for misleading Twitter investors during the 2022 acquisition. I know I keep repeating this, but this is what it's about. With damages estimated at roughly $2.1 billion. Now, let's talk about the potential harm. This behavior erodes trust in the public markets. If a CEO can move a stock price by billions with a single misleading tweet, the little guy with a 401k is the one who suffers the most. It creates a market where hype replaces value, leading to a massive financial instability for just average families. Now, we know there's always people on the other side, supporters, and we ask ourselves, why? Musk base sees this as a shakedown by the corporate elites. They argue that Musk is an agent of chaos who is trying to fix a broken system. They believe the lawsuit is just a way for disgruntled investors to get a payday because they didn't like the way he took over the platform. I don't agree with that, but there are others out there that see it in that way. Now, what can we get with all of this? The courts are the ones to make the decisions, and they are drawing the line. Digital influence does not grant immunity from security laws. Whether you see Musk as a hero or a villain, this $2 billion bill is a reminder that in the eyes of a jury, words do have consequences. All right, y'all, we're going to move this right along. So let's go ahead and let me see. What's our next topic? We're going to get into. Yeah, we'll do that one. We will do one more topic and then take a song break because this one, this video that I'm going to show is a little bit short, so it won't take us that long to get through, but it's very important. So let's go ahead and share this next topic, y'all. So the next thing we'll be talking about is the No Kings Defense of America. The No Kings movement, like we talked about, is organizing for March 28th, protesting against Operation Metro Surge and the use of federal agents in domestic policing. Now, the potential harm, the primary risk is a violent escalation between federal forces and civilian protesters. With federal agents now deployed in multiple cities, the potential for another Portland-style confrontation is very high. This can lead to injury, loss of life, and the further breakdown of the relationship between the government and its people. Now, we understand there's always going to be supporters, and we ask ourselves, well, what is the reason? Supporters believe these protests are being led by radicals who want to see cities fail. They support the use of federal agents because they feel local police have been neutered by politics. To them, a king-like display of force is exactly what's needed to bring order to the streets. So there are some people that argue for it. There's some people that are arguing against it. And my final statements when it comes to all of this, and I am saying this part first because we're moving along with this live pretty quickly. We are approaching a crossroads where the right to protest meets a zero-tolerance federal agenda. So on March 28th, we will see if the constitutional right to assembly can survive the most aggressive federal policing we've seen in a generation. So let's go ahead and get into this video, y'all. Let me get this up on the screen, and we will listen to this report together, and I will meet y'all in the chat. And y'all let me know what y'all think about this.
As the United States enters its fourth week of war with Iran and 6 weeks of a partial government shutdown triggered by a Department of Homeland Security that has refused to meaningfully change its immigration enforcement tactics or even discipline the officers responsible for the deadly shootings of Alex Preddy and Renee Good. Against that backdrop, this Saturday, coming up, it's so hard to remember the days. Americans will take to the streets for No Kings protests nationwide. Organizers predict it will be the largest protest in American history. The movement has already drawn massive crowds, turning out 5 million demonstrators in June and another 7 million in October. And this coming weekend, organizers say it will be even bigger with more than 3,000 events planned in all 50 states and new rallies being added by the day. Look at that map. One of the issues fueling the protests is Trump's draconian immigration crackdown, and he's delivering a new ultimatum to try to force Congress to end the 37-day partial government shutdown. In a series of social media posts, the president is now threatening to deploy ICE agents to staff airport security and to carry out a targeted immigration crackdown with what he describes as a, quote, heavy emphasis on Somali immigrants. He went on to say he is looking forward to, quote, moving ICE in on Monday, and added that ICE agents have already been told to, quote, get ready. Joining us now, Chief Political and Advocacy Officer for the ACLU, one of the organizations planning No Kings events this upcoming Saturday, Deirdre Schiefling, and Democratic strategist and senior advisor to the Harris-Walz campaign, Adrian Elrod. Thank you both for coming to the weekend. Deirdre, let me start with you. That threat from the president to unleash ICE on America's airports and even targeting Somali immigrants. The overall question is, would that even be legal to put ICE officers in airports?
I mean, legal or not, it's an outrageous abuse of power and really goes to the heart of why we're seeing so much enthusiasm for the No Kings protests coming up on Saturday. This president has continually overreached, abused his power, tried to intimidate American citizens from using their right to protest, right to speech, and really used ICE as his own personal enforcement force, which is unconstitutional, which is in many cases illegal. And so we're really seeing that kind of backlash to this overreach across the country.
But legally, his zeroing out of a community, right? It feels like that makes it right for people like you to in your organization. If he does go through with this, and if Somali Americans get tackled by some ICE agent or something happens, that it makes that right for legal action taken against this administration.
Yeah. I mean, racial profiling, the kind of racial profiling that we've seen of
what he's talking about.
Yes, of immigrant communities across the country is wrong. In many cases is illegal. But, this administration has not let that stop them from terrorizing communities, from separating families, and from murdering protesters in the streets. And so that's the kind of behavior that's really fueling the mass protests that we're seeing this coming weekend of No Kings. That's one of the most powerful ways that we can push back against this administration. Yes, it's absolutely important to hold them accountable to the law, but it's also important to demonstrate that the public is not with this. The public does not support it. And the public will stand up and demand an end to this kind of terrorizing.
I, for one, just want to know how these ICE agents are going to determine who's Somali and who's not.
Speaking of lack of support, we should probably run through some of these polls that I think have been a little overlooked in the throes of 3 weeks of war. But there are a majority of Republicans now that have a negative view on the state of the economy, 52%, according to an Economist YouGov poll. There is now a majority of Democrats and independents who do not approve of Trump's immigration policies. But then the one thing that is still a little bit of a confusing outlier here is Republican support for the war. This is according to the same Economist YouGov poll, that 73% of Republicans, Adrian, support this war. 23% of independents, 5% of Democrats, although those numbers are slightly more predictable.
Yeah.
In your experience of, I mean, you haven't, you were not really in this industry during the Iraq War. Mm-hmm. So, and you haven't had to oversee or work with an administration that was dealing with the collapse of public support amid a war. But when do you think that this White House is, that these Republican voters, these Trump supporters, mm-hmm. what would be the red line for them, do you think, in terms of public approval to finally turn the tide here on support for the war?
Well, a couple of things. I think number one, the YouGov poll does reflect some of the, I think there's an NBC News poll that came out about a week ago that also sort of showed that a large number of Republicans and independents and obviously Democrats think that Trump is doing a horrible job on immigration. They think doing a horrible job on the economy. He was largely elected in 2024 because prices were too high. He was not elected because people wanted to go to war with Iran. So let's make that clear. But the one thing that I do think is fascinating, and it's the one thing that Democrats and people who are on the Democrats who are on the ballot in 2026 need to keep in mind, which is Trump's MAGA base is staying with him at this moment when it comes to the war. I don't exactly know why. He has a very unusual lock on his base that pretty much nobody else in the MAGA wing of the party or even the Republican Party has with the MAGA base. So
is there any way that Democrats can be messaging to those people in a better way, or is it impossible to get through just because of structural issues?
Look, I think.
I mean, if they're
MAGA,
I don't think they're.
I don't know that it's going to be on the war, but I think you also have to tie the war to affordability. And obviously, we're seeing gas prices.
That's what I'm wondering.
$4 or $5. That could even soar even more over the next few months. But at the end of the day, elections are largely won and lost on the economy. And if gas prices are high going into the midterms, which I see no reason for that to not end, if prices at the grocery store, if prices for medicine, everyday goods in people's lives remain high. Again, that is why Trump got reelected in 2024. If he is not upholding his promise to lower prices, that's ultimately going to be the reason why we either have a wave election or we, win the House by a couple of seats.
Adrian, have I got a person for you?
Maybe y'all should have seen him up here circling that lady.
Jonathan Allen spoke to a MAGA Republican who's not happy. Watch this.
If you could say something to President Trump and he was going to hear you right now, what would it be?
You're a worthless pile of
And you voted for him how many times?
3 times. That was my bad. Apparently, I'm an idiot.
Now, Adrian, that's why I was playing like, oh my God, because so maybe she's reachable, but do you think that woman is a harbinger of what's to come in November? And is it possible, despite my deep skepticism, that Democrats could get folks like her to vote for them as opposed to staying home?
Well, that's the hope, right? I mean, you take somebody like her, which, by the way, let's find her, let's put her in every single ad across the country. But that is the task the Democrats have, right? Like, how do we take somebody who has supported Donald Trump in 2016, 2020, and 2024, who does not have a record of voting for a Democrat in the last 3 presidentials where Trump has been on the ballot, and get them to actually show up in the midterms for the Democrats? And this is where, not that this was the topic that we're talking about, but I think recruitment and getting people to run as Democrats who reflect their district, who reflect the values of their constituents is so incredibly important. Because when you look at, some of the candidates who are running for the Senate, we were just talking about Graham Plattner in the break. I mean, who's running for the Senate in the primary in Maine. I mean, he is somebody who has managed to galvanize excitement among younger voters, among older voters, among independents, among some people who voted for Susan Collins in the last 2 Senate races in Maine and are now saying they're going to vote for him, maybe even in the primary. Finding people like that who reflect the values of their constituents at this current moment is incredibly important, so that if you are the woman at the gas station, you can look at some of these candidates and say, maybe I haven't voted for Democrats, but I'm so frustrated with Trump right now that if this is somebody who I can actually identify with and who I feel like reflects my values, I will vote for that person.
Renee, can we pull up that map again of all of the planned events this coming up weekend? Because when you look at this map and all the maps that we've seen with all the other No Kings protests, Deirdre, they're big cities, right? They're in DC, they're in New York, but they're also in small cities and towns and townships in the Midwest and South Dakota and Montana. And so it shows you that it's not just a movement, I guess, that is tied to, the liberal elites and, on the coasts. This year, kind of the main hub, it sounds like, is going to be in Minnesota.
That's right.
Minnesota has been both the target and also a center of this kind of new wave of resistance. And I say that not in the internet way, but like an actual resistance to this administration.
Yes.
When you look at that map, when you think about Minnesota being the center point here, how are you, as the folks building all of this? You only have a week to go, so you have a lot of work to do this week. But as you're building that, how are you thinking about the programming, what the messaging is to the American people, how you speak to, this woman who, voted for Trump 3 times?
Yeah. Well, welcome in is what I would say to that woman. And, going to a No Kings protest is one of the most patriotic things that you can do. It is a defense of America, a defense of the idea of our American democracy. And lots of people are attending these protests for many, many reasons. Everything from horror at what is happening in their communities with ICE, outrage about this unconstitutional, unauthorized war with Iran, or concern about what the Trump administration is doing to try to undermine the midterm elections in advance. So all of those are reasons that we've heard. And in fact, I spoke to a mom just yesterday in my own neighborhood, a mom of young kids who had never gone to a No Kings protest and was planning to go on this coming Saturday. And her reason was she just can't sleep at night. She's so worried about the kind of country that we are heading towards. And she wanted to make sure that her children knew that she did everything that she possibly could. So all kinds of people are protesting. You can see that beautiful map. And we look forward to seeing everybody on Saturday.
Personally had any conversations with MAGA voters who are going out to protest policies they're unhappy with?
Yes. Actually, I spoke to a person who I wouldn't call him MAGA. He did vote for Trump. His name is Jim, and his own wife was detained for 3 months in immigration. She was an Irish immigrant. She was detained because she had bounced a $25 check, 20 years ago. And she was in detention for 3 months. So he had a whole awakening around that circumstance and is now leading the charge to reel in ICE and to push back against this administration. So that's just one example of somebody I spoke to last week.
Agent Elrod, Deidre Schiefling, thank you both for coming on. You're going to have a very busy week. So good.
Thank you so much.
All right, y'all. So as we can see, they have these protests and these rallies that people are orchestrating and putting into place because the people are saying our voices need to be heard and we need to stand and fight against some of these things. And so basically, when it comes to that, I know a lot of people can stand on different sides. It is up to them, what side they want to stand on and which one they think better benefits them or us as a world, as a people, whatever, you know what I mean? But I do see that there's a lot of people really that are moving in the right direction, in the right mindset, as far as when it comes to like love and peace and unity. And because we desire to have these things, we understand that sometimes it takes a little bit more than us just hoping and wishing and praying for it. But sometimes we got to get out there and we got to use our voices, and we got to put our boots on the ground to bring some of these things to fruition. And so we are seeing a lot of that. And we're talking about peaceful protests, because a lot of times these protests are peaceful. We have some, these news stations and stuff that try to paint it and make it seem like it's, all of this fighting and, all of this harm. But in a lot of these movements that people are putting together, they're not violent. They are peaceful, they are loving, and they're for a cause, and they are loud because the people's voices are what matters. And many people are shouting together at the same time, making their voices more powerful and strong and saying, we don't want any of this fighting anymore. We don't want any of this division anymore. And that's one of the things that I've just come to realize, that even as I report on like politics and the things that is happening within, like our government and our world, it does correlate a lot to a lot of the same things that we experience and we see on social media platforms and things of that nature, to where there is a movement and a shift that is coming from the people, where enough is enough with the negativity, enough is enough with the fighting, enough is enough with the harm, we just want to love on each other. We want to laugh. We want to have a good time. We want to get along. We want to eat, break bread, you know what I mean? Stuff like that, like really positive, fun, loving, happy, high vibrational things. People are ready to have that. They are tired of the negative, not just when it comes to the politics, but when it comes to our lives, period. So y'all, let's go ahead and take a quick song break. We'll play an uplifting song. And then after that song, we will be getting into our next topic. We got 3 more to go and then we'll be done. After this live, I believe I'll be able to wrap this up by 4 because we have a really great live that we'll be doing at 4 p.m. And I have a very, very special person that will be joining me. And we have some things that, this is going to be discussed and talked about in a very professional and a very loving and nice way, because we can communicate without arguing and shouting and screaming at each other. And the truth is the truth, no matter what. So we'll get into all of that, y'all. We got a lot coming up today. It's going to be great. But let's take this quick song break, and I'll be right back, y'all.
A roof above, a shelter from a storm, a gentle hand to keep your spirit warm, a plate of food, a mind that's free to learn, a simple peace, a righteous wage to earn. These are the needs, the bedrock and the base, the sacred ground of the whole human race. But the screaming and selling something cheap, while the real world babies cry themselves to sleep. We are human, blood and bone and soul, with a right to be loved, a right to be made whole. This is our story, this is our sacred song. In the eyes of the Creator is where we all belong. We are human, worth more than they can prize, beyond the hate breaths and the loaded dice. We're human, worth more than they can prize, beyond the hateful whispers and the loaded dice. They're painting pictures twisted and real, teaching our children how they ought to feel. Their values in the label on your shoes, or the filtered life you desperately choose. They magnify the hate, they celebrate the greed and plant a poison, a suffocating weed. We gotta reach our children, pull them from the glow, and show them a beauty that the media don't know. Yo, check the vision, the mission of the television, spitting division, a mental prison. Got the youth chasing likes, addicted to the feed, ignoring the hunger, the fundamental need. They building paper idols on a digital stage, putting our future daughters in a virtual cage. Now we gotta break the cycle, gotta cut the cord. The real word is powerful, mightier than a sword. So we teach them about their history, teach them about their grace, teach them about the power in every single face. We are human, blood and bone and soul, with a right to be loved, a right to be made whole. This is our story, this is our sacred song. In the eyes of the Creator, it's where we all belong. We are human, worth more than they can prize, beyond the hateful whispers and the loaded dice. Human, worth more than they can prize, beyond the hateful whispers and the loaded dice. We will build a world where every voice is heard and valued. Yeah. And truth is not a whisper, but a mighty thundering word. A word of justice, a word of peace, a promise that the fight will never cease. This ain't just a track, this a call to action for every mother, father, every single fraction of the community holding it down on the ground. Time to get loud, make a revolutionary sound. Look your child in the eye, tell them that they matter, tell them their spirit's something that no lie can shatter. Tell them knowledge is the weapon, love is the shield, and the truth is the harvest we gonna grow in this field. Yeah! Yes, we are. Teach the children, near and far. Let them know their sacred work for every single soul on this earth.
All right, y'all. So thanks for rocking with me with that little song break. I love that song. I think that, the lyrics in that song mean everything. It's everything that I always believe and always see. Like, at the very core of it all, y'all, like, we are human. So all of the differences, all of the fighting, all of the that's not important. Like, that song for me, it reminds us that we are all more alike than different. All of our fundamental needs are the same. But anyway, y'all, let's move ahead and get into this next topic. So we'll be talking about the global freeze, the collapse of alliances. So world leaders are reportedly freezing out the Trump administration, leading to a collapse in traditional diplomatic and military cooperations. What is the harm that can come from this? Well, when the U.S. is isolated, guess what, y'all? We're going to be losing access to global intelligence that prevents terror attacks. We also lose our seat at the table for trade deals, which can lead to skyrocketing prices for consumers, which is us, the people, as other countries from their own U.S. exclusion trade blocks. Now, there's some people that, I don't know, for whatever reason, are still supporters of this, and let's talk about why. So supporters cheered this move as an ultimate America First victory. They believe our allies have been leaking our resources for decades. I don't agree with that. That is not my thoughts and feelings and opinions, but this is what some people are saying. To them, if the G7 wants to freeze out the United States, then let them. They believe that the United States is strong enough to stand alone and thrive without globalist oversight. My personal opinion is, yeah, right. But anyway, final statements there. Isolation feels like strength until you need a friend. As the global order fractures, the U.S. is betting that it can survive in a world where we are no longer the leader, but a competitor among equals. Anyway, y'all, we will listen to a little bit of none other than Ben Masilis over on the Midas Touch Network. If y'all have not checked out that YouTube channel and watched any of his content, please, please, please do so. It is excellent. Ben be having me cracking up. He is also a lawyer. He has a legal background, and so he knows a lot of what he's talking about. And he's very passionate about what he's talking about when it comes to what's happening here in our political sector and space, not just in the United States, but globally. So excellent dude, excellent platform. Y'all check him out if you haven't yet. But let's go ahead and listen to a little bit of this coverage here. Furious world leaders are freezing out Donald Trump as this war collapses. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Furious world leaders are abandoning Donald Trump. They are putting him in his place. They are calling him out in public. For example, retired French General Nicolas Rochot said the following about Donald Trump. Trump shot himself in the foot regarding his disastrous war in Iran. He wanted to invade a European country, Greenland, not too long ago before invading Iran. And now his old friends who he didn't consult, who he scorned, especially the British, are telling him, guess what, Donald, we're not with you anymore. And this retired French general says, hey, Donald, go F yourself. Let me just play you this video so you can hear it for yourself. Let's play it.
So listen, I'm going to respond a bit prematurely. He really shot himself in the foot with that. He wanted to invade a country of the European Union, Greenland, some time ago, and now his old friends, whom he didn't consult, whom he openly despised, especially the British. He said, Jean-Marie Foubert, he is much too kind.
So if you push me, then here we are. Well, now he needs us. Well, he can just go fuck himself, frankly.
Just a moment. You're really overdoing it now. So you brought this all upon yourself.
Now we have world leaders across the globe speaking out against Donald Trump. You have the president of Taiwan calling out Donald Trump for not defending Taiwan or for looking very weak. Taiwan increasingly concerned that this ongoing Iran war is rapidly depleting key U.S. missile stockpiles, which would be critical in a potential conflict with China. The Financial Times reports the heavy use of Tomahawk cruise missiles, air defense interceptors as well in the Middle East. are depleting what Taiwan believed that it needed if China makes a move on Taiwan. But let's just face it, folks, at this point, you'll hear from the United States military things like, oh, we're still going to provide the financial support to Taiwan, or, oh, we've got their back. They're going to say those things. But when it comes to Donald Trump seems to be focused on helping Putin, helping Xi Jinping, and helping Iran, frankly, right? Donald Trump just gave Iran a $14 billion gift by removing oil sanctions on Iran. And Iran was mocking Donald Trump the whole way for doing it. They're like, thanks, Donald. We really appreciate the gift. Thank you for all that you're doing. Remember when Donald Trump and MAGA would mock former President Obama for entering into the nuclear deal that made Iran stop its uranium enrichment program? And they were like, oh, the Obama put these, plane full of cash. Look, at most, Obama's deal had like $1.4 billion to Iran, which was kind of couched as kind of reparation style payments, whatever. You could be critical of it, whatever you want to be. It stopped Iran from enriching uranium, and there was a stable deal in place that that Arab nations supported, that the world supported, and that there was a very serious inspection regime. Donald Trump got rid of that deal in Donald Trump's first term. And now Donald Trump just gave Iran $14 billion as a gift. I mean, just go figure, right? And now Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz, and they control it so powerfully and strongly that they created a toll. So if countries like India and others want to utilize it, they have to now pay Iran millions of dollars. And Iran now is also saying if you want to use the Strait of Hormuz, you have to do it in the Chinese currency, the yuan. And this can also weaken the dollar even more by forcing the Chinese currency to be used through the Strait of Hormuz. Just an interesting thing to note, the people of Japan were furious at Prime Minister Takaishi's appearance in the United States last week. Remember when Donald Trump was like doing jokes about Pearl Harbor, and Prime Minister Takaishi didn't stand up for the people of Japan and let kind of Donald Trump say, oh, well, I didn't tell Japan about what was going on before we attacked Iran because Japan is full of surprises. Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor, Takaishi? You should have told me about that. Also, the White House posted these photos of Takaishi where she was like, just say they were not flattering photos of her as the official photos. And the people of Japan were like, you just made a fool of yourself, Takaishi. And also, like, when Donald Trump walked her through that like ridiculous wall of fame or whatever Donald Trump calls it, where it's photos of different American presidents, and Donald Trump like writes the text as though he's like their Truth Social posts, and like he mocks Obama and he mocks Clinton. And he mocks the presidents he doesn't like. And then for former President Biden, who was great to the people of Japan, great to the people of Asia. I mean, Biden was strong when it came to Asia. Donald Trump replaced the photo of Biden, or put a photo. He created this wall of fame in the first place, but used an auto pen instead of former President Biden's actual portrait. And then Prime Minister Takaishi would like laugh at it. And then I'll just tell you what the founder of Channel 2 in Japan says about Takaishi laughing at Trump's auto pen picture of Biden. It was a sycophantic move, joining in the bullying just to be liked by the bully. Such vulgar behavior is being reported even internationally here. And I'll just share this with you. This is a protest. Japanese people out and about in front of Japan's Diet, their parliament. 82% of the people oppose the war in Japan right now. And take a look at these protesters outside protesting the prime minister's appearance and war right now, and basically protesting the United States. Here, play this clip right here. Now, just thinking about the arbitrary and capriciousness nature of Donald Trump, his recklessness, his maliciousness, just look at this timeline. This is a timeline from yesterday over the last 36 hours. So Friday at 3:40 p.m. Eastern time, Donald Trump says, I don't want to do a ceasefire with Iran. Friday, 5:15 p.m. Eastern time, the U.S. is considering winding down the war with Iran. Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern time, Axios reports Donald Trump is planning peace talks. Then a few hours later, Donald Trump writes, if Iran doesn't open the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours, the U.S. will obliterate Iran's power plants, as the Kobayashi letter says. So what the hell is happening behind the scenes here? It's what's happening in front of the scenes. Donald Trump is a demented maniac. He's a crazy human being. Okay, he's an actual lunatic. And I don't want to use words that are maybe callous and are reflective of mental health issues or degrading. So I want to be careful with the words that I use. But Donald Trump is a sick human being. I mean, malignant, narcissistic sociopath. And his decision-making tree makes bad decisions into terrible decisions, into catastrophic decisions, into bankruptcies, right? This is why Donald Trump has bankrupted so many of his businesses throughout his life. Over and over again, he continues to bankrupt businesses. I want to pivot for a second, though, because we can continue talking about all these countries that are just kind of isolating and mocking Donald Trump. We can talk, of course, about how the UK and France and all of NATO said, no way, Donald, we're not doing any offensive missions in the Strait of Hormuz. Go away, Donald. We can talk about how the head of Qatar Energy and lots of other business leaders in the Middle East are saying what a betrayal that Donald Trump did. I mean, Donald Trump has set the Middle East back 20, 30 years. I mean, that's coming from the CEO of Qatar Energy. They all thought they were buying protection from Donald Trump, pay for play schemes. Trump just, if the war were to end today, okay, it will probably take 20 years to build back what has been destroyed. So generationally, this has destroyed. So we destroyed the Middle East. So we could talk about all these countries live it, and just think also how a lot of these like Middle Eastern investors would put their money into American startups and American IPOs and American companies as well, right? They ain't going to do that anymore. So this is going to have a long-standing effect. Oh, in addition to the price of oil, which continues to surge right now, and the markets that continue to crash, and Bitcoin is crashing. Just think about as well, helium, fertilizer. Think about fertilizer next year, right? A lot of the fertilizer has already technically been purchased. Will it even arrive? What happens next year? These are issues that are systemic, that even if the war stopped, this cascading effect will likely cause economic catastrophes across the globe. But this war is obviously going to continue on. So we could talk about that. But
winter hibernation is over and it's time for some of that spring cleaning. But when it comes to the scent of your laundry, it shouldn't smell like the same thing you use to disinfect your bathroom. Enter Laundry Sauce, the premium scented laundry pods that don't just clean your clothes, they elevate them. Say goodbye to that stale, overused detergent scent and hello to luxurious, fine fragrance freshness that lasts. Imagine stepping outside on the perfect spring morning with your clothes smelling like
a lot. This is not really getting reported that much, but we need to report on it here, of course, that right now there is CPAC Hungary taking place. So the Conservative Political Action Committee, the big kind of right-wing MAGA group, they throw these conventions where they try to hoist up their Russian sycophants and their kind of MAGA Russia anti-European Union crew in the different European countries in order to help Putin. So they're doing right now a CPAC Hungary, where Netanyahu's son is a speaker. In the past week, Marco Rubio was there. A video address played yesterday of Donald Trump and JD Vance. They did these video messages supporting Viktor Orban, the Putin puppet that's in Hungary, who basically is put there to destroy the European Union. By the way, it's the professed foreign policy of the United States Trump regime to destroy the European Union and to destroy pro-democracy groups in the European Union. Also, it was reported yesterday in the Washington Post that Russia was working with Viktor Orban to stage an assassination attempt in order to boost him before the April elections. No attack happened, but a European intelligence service obtained the report that Russia was working to stage a fake assassination attempt of Orban to help his poll numbers. There's a big election that's about to take place in a few weeks. it's coming up pretty quickly in Hungary, where the pro-democracy leader is expected to beat Orban. The pro-democracy party is in the lead right now, and getting rid of Orban would be a huge victory and a huge blow to Vladimir Putin. So Trump is putting out all the stops to try to help Orban. Lots of people are worried that with the kind of current war taking place in the Middle East, with Russia's unlawful and with Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the war raging on there, that Orban may try to provoke a war with Zelensky in Ukraine in order to stop the elections. Pay very close attention to the things that Hungary is saying, because Hungary is accusing Ukraine of trying to go to war with it. Not the people of Hungary, Orban, who's basically being advised right now by Putin on every step of the way. Dan Shapiro also writes, in this Washington Post story on the Russian intelligence plot to stage an assassination attempt of Viktor Orban to boost his chances in Hungary's upcoming elections. Think about this paragraph. Russia is not the only outside power potentially looking to prop up Orban in one of the toughest campaigns of his career. Secretary of State Marco Rubio visited Budapest last month, telling Orban that your success is our success. And Orban has made no secret that he hopes Trump will do the same. But with Trump consumed by the war in Iran and Orban behind in the polls, Hungarian's foreign minister said that Vice President J.D. Vance will be visiting instead. And Netanyahu's kid is visiting as well. Yair is in Hungary attending CPAC. Here's the message, by the way, that Donald Trump sent to the Hungary CPAC yesterday. I'll show you this clip right here so you can see for yourself. Let's play it.
A very big hello to CPAC Hungary. Congratulations to CPAC Chairman Matt Schlapp, as well as the Chairman of CPAC Hungary, Mikolos Sento, on this historic fifth gathering in the magnificent city of Budapest. It's a great place and a great country. I also want to send my best wishes to Prime Minister Viktor Orban, who I am endorsing, as you know. I am endorsing his election, which is coming up pretty soon. He has my complete and total endorsement, as a matter of fact. The Prime Minister has been a strong leader who's shown the entire world what's possible when you defend your borders.
Also, Belarus's Alexander Lukashenko, a Putin puppet, says that Donald Trump just invited him to Mar-a-Lago to discuss a, quote, big deal with the U.S. As Max Sedan explains, this would presumably bring his country in from the cold after years of sanctions. And we know that the Trump regime has removed a lot of sanctions on Belarus businesses recently as well. As Gary Kasparov explains, lifting sanctions on Lukashenko's Kremlin puppet regime is effectively lifting sanctions on Russia. And of course, this is exactly the point. In my year of tweeting, only Trump can save Russia, this is what I meant right here. We should also talk about how yesterday, Zelensky's still showing up, even though we know that Witkoff and Kushner are Putin sycophants, in my opinion. So there were discussions yesterday between Kushner and Witkoff and Zelensky. Zelensky wrote the following: today, our team met with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner in the United States. This is important for the whole world. Diplomacy continues, and we are working to end Russia's war against Ukraine. No one wants this war. The teams will continue discussions tomorrow. The key issue to understand is how ready Russia is to move towards a real end to the war, honestly and with dignity, especially now when geopolitical tensions have increased due to the situation around Iran. A more detailed report from our team will follow. And here is Witkoff's remark, Donald Trump's lackey, real estate guy who was never a diplomat, who's now screwing up all of our international negotiations. But, you know, he's a Trump sycophant. So, I mean, this is what he and Trump do. They're destroyers. Witkoff writes, today in Florida, U.S. and Ukrainian delegations held constructive meetings as part of ongoing mediation efforts, with discussions focused on narrowing and resolving remaining items to move closer to a comprehensive peace agreement. The American delegation included Envoy Witkoff, Kushner, Senior Advisor Josh Grunbaum, and State Department Senior Policy Advisor Chris Curran. We welcome the continued engagement toward resolving the outstanding issues, recognizing its importance to broader global stability, and thank thank Trump for his continued leadership in advancing these efforts. Should also be noted that Abu Ubaidah, the military spokesperson for the Qassam brigades, says the following: "We look with great pride at the powerful missile strikes carried out by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard this evening, targeting areas deep within the criminal entity using new tactics which left dozens of dead and wounded." There wasn't dozens of dead, but there were over 100 injured in these Iranian strikes that were able to hit these two cities in southern Israel. And, you know, as Donald Trump and everyone's like, oh, we've degraded Iran's capabilities. It really isn't the case. Dimona, which is the area, southern Israel, where there's like the Israeli nuclear facilities, that area was hit. Arad was hit. ARAD, 150, 200 injuries took place. And Iran is feeling confident right now that they have the ability to strike Israel and its neighbors with impunity. Donald Trump claims, oh, we've decimated them, but we know they're not decimated. And you're starting to now see a lot of these Iranian proxies, like I just shared with you there, the leader of the Houthis as well, saying we're ready to shut down the strait in the Red Sea. So the Strait of Hormuz is Persian Gulf. There's a separate strait in the Red Sea. You shut down the Red Sea with the Persian Gulf already effectively being shut down. It's game, set, match. We're talking $200 per barrel of oil right there. And meanwhile, you have Iranian leaders just basically mocking Donald Trump and his regime. The parliament leader of Iran, MB Ghalibaf, responds to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent lifting sanctions against Iran. And Ghalibaf from Iran goes, lifting sanctions on Iranian oil currently stranded at sea? Sorry, we're sold out. In addition, he was mocking the Trump regime and saying, and mocking Israel and saying, if the Israeli regime fails to intercept the missiles in the highly protected Dimona area, it is operationally a sign of entering a new phase of battle. Israeli skies are defenseless. As a result, it seems the time has come to implement the next pre-designed plans. And while they're saying that, Donald Trump is like, I'm giving you a 48-hour ultimatum right here, that if you don't, if Iran doesn't fully open without the threat, the Strait of Hormuz, within 48 hours from this exact point in time, the United States of America will hit and obliterate their various power plants, starting with the biggest one first, right? To which Iran says, okay, well, you do that, then we're going to go after all of the nearby power plants as well. So Donald Trump makes that threat. Iran's head of their military responds and says, following previous warnings, if Iran's fuel and energy infrastructure is attacked by the enemy, all energy information technology, all desalination infrastructure belonging to the U.S. and the regime in the region will be targeted, meaning all the Arab nations that have American bases will be hit. And so things are escalating. They're getting out of control. You're seeing how world leaders are responding. Let me know what you think about all of this. Hit subscribe. Help us get to 7 million subscribers. And thanks so much.
All right, y'all. So that was my, not my boy, but that was Ben Masilas over there on the Midas Touch Network, one of my new favorite channels to go to and listen to. Ben is really dope, as you see how he is so, eloquent and just really breaking down everything, when it comes to the politics, and keeping it real. He's hilarious too. He's got a little bit of comedy with him. He's got a little bit of everything. So y'all, please check out Ben Masilas' channel over on the Midas Touch Network. It is a big network. He is connected with a lot of different people. Like I said, he has a legal and a lawyer background. Yeah, he's really dope. I love watching this content. And child, he be going in on Trump, which I'm like, I second that notion. Because I feel it too. Like a lot of the things that Trump decides to do, it's affecting all of us as a people. You know what I'm saying? And so it's not just a rough patch that we're seeing here in diplomacy anymore. From the G7 to our closest neighbors in Canada and Mexico, world leaders are moving from concern to containment when it comes to the U.S. president. The America First policy has officially met a world without us response. Okay? It is what it is. And yes, I live in the United States, but I got to call it like it is. You know what I mean? It's unfortunate. It's scary, but this is what is happening. Okay, so this war with Iran, traditional allies like the United Kingdom and France are openly critical, viewing the current military action as a move driven by domestic politics rather than a shared global strategy. We also have the Greenland crisis. President Trump's refusal to rule out military force to annex Greenland has pushed Denmark and the EU to consider sanctions against the United States, a move unheard of between NATO allies. Like it is, like he always says, you've never seen nothing like this before. Yeah, we've never seen nothing like this before. And what we are seeing and experiencing right now is because of him. Conditional alliances. The 2026 National Defense Strategy officially made the United States protection transactional. If allies don't meet specific spending targets, the United States is threatening to pull the plug on security. That's not right. That is not right. And yes, I live in the United States, but that is not right. I'm hating what I'm seeing. I'm hating what I'm seeing. I'm hating what I'm hearing. This is taking us so far away from unity. We got so close. We wasn't doing like superb, but we were in a decent position to where we had allies, where we were working together as a group, you know, working together as people. We also got to talk about this global gag rule, massive cuts to the international health and aid, up to 85% in some sectors, have left a power vacuum that our rivals, specifically China, are happy to fill with their own funding and influence. And look, when it comes to all of that, I just wish everything could be fair and equal across the board. I know that politics and things, you know, of that nature do not work like that, and they never really have. I just wish we could get to that. Like, can we find a president that make that happen? Can we have that? But anyway, let's just talk about how all of this stuff hurts the United States. Economic blowback. The tension isn't just in meeting rooms, right? It's in the wallets. The disruption in the Strait of Hormuz due to the Iran war has caused fuel prices to spike. Additionally, the threat of 25% import tax on European goods means the cost of everything from cars to groceries could skyrocket. Then we got to talk about security blind spots. When allies freeze us out, they stop sharing intelligence. This makes the United States more vulnerable for terror threats that could have been stopped by a tip from a partner in London or Berlin. But since we have our president here that is just pissing everybody off, right? And we ain't got no connection with nobody no more, they ain't gonna look out. You know, we can break it down in simple terms. You know, you cross somebody, you do somebody dirty, you think they're gonna tap you on your shoulder and be like, hey, you might want to look out for so-and-so. They over here trying to do this. Boo, boo, boo. You know? They may try to help you, look out for you, give you a tip. No tips. We're not getting any tips because people are like, why should we care? Why should we care? Why should we give them a tip? Let them know what's up. They don't care about us. Look how they treating us. You know what I'm saying? Loss of soft power. For decades, the United States led the world through aid and diplomacy. By dismantling U.S. aid and pulling back from the UN, we are losing our ability to shape global events before they reach our shores, like pandemics and regional wars. The America alone reality. We are seeing a world where our rivals are forming new trade and military blocs specifically designed to exclude the United States. This means fewer buyers for America, made products, and fewer friends if a major conflict breaks out. And can we blame these people? No, we can't. because they did not deserve to be treated this way. They did not deserve to have nobody turn their back on them and stab them in the back. They did not deserve to be pushed up on for extra money out of their pockets. You know, like that bully type energy, I've never rocked with it. And that's literally what Trump is doing. And he is the representation of our country. And he's doing this because as a president, you sit down with leaders from other countries and you're bullying these people. You're trying to humiliate these people. You're not being nice with them. And we had it to where we all was getting to some certain point along in some kind of way, even if it was just business only, right? Maybe we all didn't see eye to eye, you know, see things the same way, you know, as far as like leadership and how you run your area and stuff like that. And that's a whole nother live and a whole nother conversation for another day. But at least when it came to the business, it was like somewhat, you know what I'm saying, to a point where it was kind of fair, or, you know, people were like comfortable with it. And now you just come out and you go against everybody that has ever had your back. And one of the things is, to me, is that the United States, like you is a country that, yes, that I live in, but we claim to be, oh, we're so strong, we're so tough, we have this, we have that. I've never felt that way, right? I just happen to have been born here and live here. That's it, y'all. But you claim to be all of these things and have all of this power, you know, and whatnot, but you don't talk about what's happening behind the scenes. You don't talk about how you get it. You don't talk about the deals, the business deals and the contracts that you do with other leaders in other countries, right? Because that's why we have a lot of the things that we have, because of those things. And now you've pissed all of these people off. And so it's just like, that's nasty work. People that have always had your back, they've been doing decent, good business with you, you know, supporting you, being just maybe not friends, but at least cordial allies of some kind. And now you've been nasty work to them. And you can't sit up here and be upset when these people say no more. You don't get to treat us like this. Like, how dare you? You know what I mean? And so that's happening in the political and the government sector. But we also see it happening in a lot of other things in other places and sectors, right? It's like almost a mirror. So what is the flip side? Why are people supporting this? It's important to understand why millions of Americans are cheering this type of stuff on when it comes to Trump. For supporters, this freeze is proof that Trump is finally holding the world accountable. That's what they think. That's what they say. Not me. They believe we've been the world's piggy bank for too long. To them, if the G7 is mad, it means the U.S. is finally putting its own taxpayers first and refusing to be bullied into funding other countries' safety. Well, y'all, we watch this stuff in and out when it comes to this political sector. And even in that statement alone, that's a lie, right? But even in that statement, you can hear that it's very selfish. It's a very selfish statement. But there's a lot of people that are supporting and backing that rhetoric, right? You know what I'm saying? Like that mindset, like it's all about us. You know, what is it that's going to be most beneficial for us? We've been doing all this for all these other people. Now it's time for us to get back what's owed to us. You know, it's like coming off as some mafia type stuff, really. But anyway, y'all, moving on. So the global freeze is the ultimate high stakes gamble. The administration is betting that the United States is so powerful that we don't need allies to thrive. But as fuel prices are rising and intelligence channels go dark, we are starting to see the true cost of standing alone in a connected world. We are not losing seats at the table. We're losing the ability to set the menu. So basically, like I said, all of the things that we are benefited by here in the United States, a lot of those things that we benefit by is because of the relationships and the business, unfortunately, it's business always, as usual, that has always been done between the United States and other countries. And now Trump has disrupted all of that. And these other leaders from other countries are like, you do not get to talk to us like that. You don't get to treat us like that. How dare you? Who do you think you are? We'll show you. You know what I'm saying? If we break it down in simple form. And so they are showing us better than they can tell us exactly how it's going to feel and how it's going to hit hard. You know what I'm saying? When they're not on board no more. They're not working with us no more. And we will see as the people, unfortunately, in this country, exactly what that's going to look like and what that's going to feel like. And people, like we say, are already experiencing that when they go to the gas pump, when we go to the grocery store, when we go to the doctor's office. We're seeing all of these things, right? It's not comfortable no more. People are upset. They're like, yo, what? This used to be $3. Now it's $7. What happened? Trump happened. That's what happened, And it's going to be more of that to come, that we're going to be like questioning, like, yo, what's going on? At the pump, like struggling, trying to get to work or whatever it is you're trying to go to put some gas in your tank because fuel costs are up. Oil costs is up. And that's because we got this bully over here for president that thinks that he can bully all of the other world leaders and talk to them and treat them any type of way and thought that they was just going to sit down and take it. And they said, no, we're not going to sit down and take it. You don't get to treat us like that. You don't get to do us like that, especially when we never did you dirty. We never did nothing to you. All we ever did was help you, be supportive to you. And then you turn on us, you treat us like that? Okay, got it. Y'all see what I'm saying? If we break it down in simple talk and simple understanding, it is more feasible for us to understand, right? Because that's what it is. It's literally what it is. And a lot of us have been in those places and spaces in our lives, even just amongst humans and each other, right? Like, how dare you? I've always had your back. I always looked out for you. We had a good thing going. And then you turn around and you do this to me. You stab me in my back. You act like I'm nothing to you. You treat me like filth and trash. And you think I'm just about to just lay down here and be like, oh, that's okay. Yeah, you get to do that because you're the U.S. No. You don't get to do that because you're the U.S. You don't get to do that because you're Donald Trump. It's not right. You don't get to treat people that way. And guess what? Us as the people, and our voices is the one supposed to matter the most because, here in the United States, it's supposed to be democracy. So it's supposed to be the people's voice that matters the most. And we're saying, and we're telling these people in this administration, this is not right. You don't get to treat people like this. And you moving and operating like this, even if somebody is speaking about it from a selfish standpoint, you moving and operating like this, you're messing it up for us. So stop. Now, the way I say it is, as more so like an overall like kumbaya, because y'all know I'm a kumbaya person. And I'm just like, it's not fair and it's not right and it's nasty word. Because why are you treating these people like this? Different countries, different world leaders. They didn't do anything to you. They weren't treating you bad. They didn't hurt you. They didn't harm you. Why are you attacking them? Why are you going after them like that? Why are you making things harder for them? And then you think because you live in this delusion, in this bubble, that you are the end all be all, but you're not. Because a lot of the benefit that we have in this country is because of the relationships and the connection and the business that we do with other countries. How dare you make them feel like they are nothing and they don't provide what we need in this country or what we benefit from and enjoy every day in this country? How dare you make them feel like they're small or they're lesser than? I don't like that. I've never liked that. I've never liked that there's like this one country that's supposed to be this mega country, and then all the rest of the country is supposed to bow down. I never liked that. I don't know where that comes from, how that's, well, historically we read about where it started and how it started, but it needs to end. It needs to end. Because how dare you? I think that's disgusting work. It's disgusting work. What? And like I said, the only reason, if you want to call me an American or whatever, that's what I guess they call us, that I'm here in the United States, it just happened to be where I was born and raised. That's it. I was just born here and raised here. That's all, you know? But as far as that, it's just like, no, I've never liked that. That's like all of these different beautiful countries. Why do one gotta be better than all the rest? Why can't it all be equal? I don't like the fact that there are third world countries that are like really struggling and like living off of almost the least. Why? There's too many resources to go around. No country, no people should be having to live like that, period. I want to see a president come in and change that. I want to see a president come in and make like a full, fair balance for everyone, for all of us. That's what I want to see. But anyway, let's take this quick song break, y'all, because we got to wrap this up here. We got another live to do at 4. So let me go ahead and play this song, and then we'll get into the last 2 topics of the live. And those we may not be able to play all the way through to the end because they are kind of longer, but I may play half of each, right? So we can get a little bit of concept of what is being talked about. And then we'll do our final thoughts and we'll wrap it up, okay? But let's go ahead and get into this song. We'll be right back.
The air is thick with whispers, digital ghosts in the machine. They feed us fiction till our vision's blurred, you know the scene. Static on the screen, a 24-hour scream, selling us a fractured dream, tearing at the seams. They got us locked in little boxes, picking sides, while the real tide rises and nobody hides. Yo, podiums are burning, bridges turn to ash and dust. They trading rhetoric like bullets, banking on our lack of trust. Got us debating pronouns while the planet starts to rust. Got us obsessed with power, drowning in our own disgust. Politicians playing chess with pawns that look like you and me, selling off the future for a bump in their damn GDP. And what we talking about, the foolishness, the vanity, fighting over AI songs, the height of our insanity. A fake voice on a fake beat gets more rage and more ink than a real bomb dropping on a city while we blink. They engineered the outrage, designed it to divide, so we never look up from our phones to see the coming tide. Oh, can you hear the war drums pounding out a rhythm low? They're marching us to battle for a God we do not know. They want us choosing colors, but our blood all runs the same. Just strangers in a mirror whispering a different name. I'm praying for the day the sun won't care what shade we are. That we can see the human heart behind the battle scar. Tear down the flags and see the faces before we run out of safe places. I see the babies born into this atmospheric hate. Taught to fear they name before they learn to conjugate. Lines drawn in the sand by hands that never touch the soil, while the working class backbone is bent in endless toil. From Ferguson to Palestine, from Kiev to the Sudan. Listen, it's the same damn story, part of the same damn plan. Keep the people fighting over scraps upon the floor, so they never band together and demand a slice of more. They call it patriotism, tradition, call it pride. I call it ancient injection venom with a modern place to hide. Skin tone is the uniform they gave us for they war, but the soul inside the flesh is what we should be fighting for. And I'm tired, so tired of singing this eulogy. Oh, can you hear the war drums pounding out a rhythm low? They're marching us to battle for a God we do not know. They want us choosing colors, but our blood all runs the same. Just strangers in a mirror whispering a different name. I'm praying for the day the sun won't care what shade we are. That we can see the human heart behind the battle scar. Tear down the flags and see the faces before we run out of safe places. What if we looked each other in the eye, past the melanin, past the zip codes and the bank accounts they fence us in? What if our only currency was empathy and grace? What if we found our real reflection in a stranger's face? This ain't a lyric, it's a lifeline that I'm throwing out. This ain't a song, it's the beginning of a different route. I'm a daughter of the struggle, a mother of a dream, to wash away the blood and poison from this bitter stream. So turn the volume down on all the noise they try to sell, and listen to that quiet voice inside you know so well. World War III is knocking, they're at the door, but it's not nation against nation anymore. It's ignorance against wisdom, it's love against the fear. The real war is right here.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much for rocking with me through that song break. And I hope y'all like that song. You know, that's one of the ones that I created. I'll be making some of these, you know, like activist songs and songs for like hope and change and all of the things. But let's go ahead and get into our next topic, y'all. So, like I said, we will be listening to now from iHip News or I've Had It podcast, and they will be speaking some on Project 2026. And like we said, this is a plan that is aiming to eliminate mail-in voting and implement strict citizenship hurdles, okay? So what is the potential harm of this? Voting rights advocates say that this is a targeted strike against women, seniors, and the disabled, groups that rely on mail-in ballots. The harm is the potential disenfranchisement of millions, making it harder for the average citizen to have a voice in their own government. Now, like I said, we actually have supporters that are against this. And so we have to ask ourselves why. So on the opposite side, supporters argue these measures are the only way to ensure election integrity. They believe that mail-in voting is ripe for fraud and that requiring strict proof of citizenship is a common sense way to protect the value of the legal vote. For them, it's about making sure only those eligible are making the decisions. So this is their reason for standing against these type of shifts and changes and saying that they're actually beneficial. My final thoughts is Project 2026 is our next great battleground for the American ballot. It poses a fundamental question. Should we make it as easy as possible to vote or as secure as possible to prevent errors? Which one is more important to us? We have to ask ourselves that and decide. So let's go ahead and listen to my girls over here, Jennifer and Pumps. I love listening to them. They give me life for real because they say all of the things that I really be wanting to say. So let's go ahead and get into this video, y'all. And I will meet y'all over in the chat. But this is very serious because we're looking at here possibly, and I know that most of us here that be on my channel, we're women. And so we're looking at here possibly moving forward, especially in the United States. I don't know, in different countries, it's different. We're talking about the United States with what Trump is doing. But if you are here in the United States and a female, we're looking at the fact that they may be trying to put things into place to where our votes and our voices don't matter as females and women. And so, y'all, that is very serious. And so I remember talking about this a while ago where I say, yeah, this Trump, he seems to always be talking about like the 1800s and the golden era and the good old days is what he calls it, right? Or make America great again. Well, remember back then, women couldn't vote. Women couldn't vote. Women couldn't do a lot of things. And when we see her in things like this, it's just like, is that your goal? Is that where you're trying to take us back to where our voices don't matter and we can't vote? Or you're going to make it ultimately impossible or difficult for us to do so? Anyway, let's let our girls talk about it, y'all, and I'll meet y'all over in the chat.
The Republican white women that continue to vote for Republicans and Christian nationalism because you think people wearing a cross are good and it's patriarchal and men should be in charge of the house. They are coming for you. They're coming for your daughters. Abortion rights were not enough. This is what's going on in this country. These are the people that have the ear of people in power. Let's take a listen to Scott Yenner from the Heritage Foundation. And let's apply this to your daughter and think if you like the sound of this.
Effort must be made not to recruit women into engineering, but rather to recruit and demand more of men who become engineers. Ditto for med school and the law and every trade. If every Nobel Prize winner is a man, that's not a failure. It's kind of a cause for celebration. Why can't our celebration of male excellence in sports be translated into all facets of life? More successful men will mean more happy citizenry and a stronger nation. Such medicated, quarrelsome, and meddlesome women gain their meaning through the seeming participation in the global project. They are agents of the new world, but not new life. Such women are now the backbone of every left-wing cosmopolitan party in the Western world, from the Greens in Germany to the Democratic Party in America. And if our ideal woman is a childless media scold or a barren bureaucratic apparatchik, there is no question whether we can have a future. We can't. There is a question of whether we deserve one.
Women have. What a fucking prick. And I know these women. They have daughters, my daughter's age, medical school, law school, all the things. They voted for Trump. It's like, you are a dumb shit. Wake up and smell the coffee.
Okay. This is, how I talk to you and the listener a lot about what is Trump incubating?
Right.
I talk about that all the time. This is what I mean. And this is where we have to be very clear-eyed. The Trump came down that escalator. None of these people wanted him. But once they realized he was willing to be such a prostitute for whatever they wanted, it's like giddy up. So you have the Christian nationalists. They're like, oh, we can get him to do what we want to do. We've got the oligarchs. We can get him to do what we want to do. We have our adversaries, Putin, Netanyahu, who some people refer to as an ally. I refer to him as an adversary to the American people, to the people that don't like countries that commit war crimes. It's easy to manipulate them. As it pertains to the first part of this, men celebrated, we need to celebrate men. The whole time I'm just sitting there thinking, the song comes into my head, it's raining men, hallelujah. It's raining men. That's kind of what I thought, because it's so, the psychology behind that is really interesting. I mean, clearly, I think if we were to break down something with this man, I don't know if his mother abused him or something, or he saw his father abuse his mother, and this is learned. There's something very Freudian and deeply seated there. As it pertains to the people that we know, particularly that you know from the circles when you were religious and stuff, they will watch this pumps and they will still go vote for this regime again. It will not scare them. It will not make them think, God, I want a better place for my daughter, because they think their daughters will be exempt from that. And also the internalized misogyny. They've been so beaten down their whole lives that then they generationally beat down their daughters as well. And by voting for somebody who will hurt your child, you are sending your child a message of conditional love, of not unconditional love. And so those parents have received that message at some point too from somebody in their life, that we only conditionally love you on these conditions. And so when you're able to see people that can tell their child or their family members, I love you, and then they go to the ballot box and they vote for people that are going to hurt the person they just said they love. This is conditional love, and it is damaging, and it's passive. And that sometimes those passive insults are the ones that are most insidious, that sit and stew inside of you for a long time. And that's why right now, people who stand up on conviction, why our podcast is popular, because I stand up and I say, I demand universal human rights. If my kid even fucking spoke for a second like this, or supporting somebody that spoke like this, I'm going to grab their fucking ear. I mean, they would know, like, absolutely, positively, that type of depravity is horrible. But the passive nature in American circles, in evangelical circles, of this type of conditional love fucks people up. Because the parent says, oh, I love you. And it's this performative, superficial thing. It's the talk. But there's no walk the walk with it. They can't go vote for the people who are going to protect their own kids. So how does the kid feel? Like the daughters you're talking about. When their mother goes and does that, they feel immediately devalued. And this permeates this type of psychology that I'm explaining to you, Pumps, and I know it so well because it's all throughout the Bible Belt. It permeates everywhere. And these are also the same people who like party and take shots with their kids. They are.
They are.
You know, it's like, it's real fucked up boundary shit. Yeah.
It's totally. And here's the deal. I grew up in a home with a ton of internalized misogyny, straight patriarchal all the way. And within the last maybe 12 months, my mother looked at my face. Now I am a single mother, completely solely responsible for my children, and says to me, I just don't know what would happen in a family if there wasn't a husband to be head of the household. And I just looked at her and I was just like, and here's the deal. As far away from as I am from that whole thing, and intellectually I understand it, it was a dagger. It's like, how fucking dare you?
It hurts.
It hurts.
It does.
So it's when you're used to it, even a shot like that. But in terms of these women and their daughters, now we have people, again, Christian nationalists, all rah Trump, all MAGA Republicans. They think they've gotten rid of Roe versus Wade. So now let's just take away the 19th Amendment. That'll solve all the problems.
You're exactly right. This is why you can't cede ground on anything.
Right.
The ground was ceded on Roe, and we've all just kind of moved on from it. And now they're like, okay, all right, now let's go for the right to vote. This is why it pisses me off when you hear people in the Democratic Party start to cede ground on trans rights, because you can't do it. Either everybody matters and everybody has equal rights and equal opportunity, equal access, or they don't. You can't start carving out places, or you leave every person vulnerable. And Pump's your point is so astute, because the minute that they realize they got away with Roe, they're going to continue, and they have a court that will allow them to do it. And they have a dipshit president that doesn't give a fuck. I mean, he couldn't care less about any of this stuff.
No, he doesn't. And they have some guy here's his name, Chris Partridge. He just wrote a book about it, and he is bragging, and he's telling everybody what the deal is in a book that he wrote.
Overview of the land of the damage that has been done through the 19th Amendment, and why it's not just wrong against Scripture, coming from a biblical patriarchal perspective, but why it's never been done throughout history from any other nation. And any other nation that embraces such a view where you're putting women in charge of making decisions for a particular nation, that nation falls. And so I think there's going to be a lot of evidence, a lot of research, a lot of even looking at women suffer more from women's suffrage. Also that you have, when the 19th Amendment first came to be, that there was a massive group of women that were against it. Mm-hmm. And so you never hear some of these narratives of the history of it, the argument against it, and many reasons justifying it. I think that by the end, people are going to go, wow, I think women at the end are going to go, we must repeal this. And that's my hope, is that we can get thousands of people to read this book, and that we can, over maybe the next 10, 15 years, have a Supreme Court case repealing the 19th. If we can.
That motherfucker, which I can just tell by looking at him, that he is teeny weeny peeny out the gazoo.
There's no question this man has a multitude of issues. Emotional stunting, sexual stunting. There's just no question that he was religiously abused. He was raised in the structure of conditional love. What I was talking about to you all earlier about that passive feeling that my parents love me conditionally, and how insidious that is. And it's not unconditional, on conviction, standing on business. And it really damages people. And so what does he want to do? He wants to damage other people. But the whole idea that women are going to be cheering it's just so divorced from reality. And that's what happens to people in these circles. They're just like, he's literally just in the megachurch circle with megachurchers. And then when you don't have outside people that think differently than you, then you have this phenomenon where you out crazy each other. And so that's what happens in these mega churches. That's what's happened in the suburbs. That's what's happening in red states where the Democratic Party's pulled out and abandoned the 50-state strategy. You have these people out crazying each other. Where you live in a big city with multiculturalism, you're getting different views all the time. And it's a moderating, tempering force that keeps, everything even keel. But when you're out at the mega church with this nut, and, who's probably, God only knows what his Google search history is and what kind of porn this man consumes. And then he probably spanks himself afterwards to punish himself and a bunch of weird, twisted shit, right? They start out crazying each other. And this is why free thought, critical thinking must always be elevated. And this is why these people don't want women, books, drag queens, queer people. You're never going to erase any of these things. Women are still going to exist. Queer people are still going to exist. Trans people are still going to exist. But these people think, I'm so broken. If I do this thing, I'll be right with God. And because here's the thing, as a human being, when you really fuck up and you do something wrong, well, the evangelical form of repent is, oh my God, Jesus, I'm so sorry I whacked off to my wife's best friend, and then it's like, you're forgiven. And then it's like, okay, well, now I'm going to beat off to my, and it escalates. And there's no accountability for it. And listen, I don't think there's anything wrong with beating off to the image of your wife, best friend, whatever floats your boat. Who gives a shit? Just because you're on a diet doesn't mean you can't read the menu. I'm not a religious prude weirdo. But for these guys, that kind of shit's a big deal. And then it escalates and it escalates and it escalates. And then it gets to the point where they're so broken and they're quote unquote sinning so much, they go to these drastic measures. Like look at the Supreme Court justices, the hard right Catholics. They think if we deliver the country of America to God, we'll be right with him. And I mean, let's just face it. You think Clarence Thomas and Sam Alito, you think these guys live a real Puritan life on the internet? Fuck no. You know they're up to some really weird shit. Their Google searches, you know it's some weird shit.
Well, and here's the thing. Please, MAGA, stop telling me how bad Sharia law is. Stop telling me. Well, because Christian nationalism like this, in my opinion, they're not a whole lot different. You want to take everybody's rights from them. You want to control what they think. And you think that your thoughts and your religion is superior and that you know what's best for somebody else. So it makes me want to scream. It makes me want to scream.
Here's what I think, Pumps. I think for you in your personal life, everyone in your life was just like you until you met me. And I was the Democrat atheist. And you would say crazy shit. And I would go, that's fucking crazy. And so it actually caused you to start critically thinking. And this is why I think your experience has been experienced by so many people in America, this kind of religious abuse and this type of internal confusion and identity crisis that you went through, that you and I, we wrote a book about it, all that stuff. I think your story and telling it more and more is so important and it's so relatable because us playing the clips of what these men are going to do is not going to snap them out of it. If I would have played that clip for you 15 years ago, you would have gone, oh, well, that's not going to happen to my daughter. And you just would have pressed on.
I absolutely would have.
But hearing a different, for these women that are trapped in this evangelical cult, hearing you say the things that you questioned. And my mom said this and I didn't think that was right. And that kind of hurt my feelings. Then it's relatable. And so that's why I keep saying it and I'm going to say it forever. I think there's going to be a huge need if we ever get out of this fascism for a bunch of deprogramming. And so that's why I think your story is so important. And I think so many women and men have been religiously abused by their churches and their families and are dying for a roadmap on how to deconstruct and heal. And so I thank so much for sharing it because I was with you through the whole journey and you still are on it. And I just think it's super, super duper important to share because there's so many people that are suffering in the clasps of these authoritarian religions and they're hurting, but they know something's not right and they know a lot of stuff isn't adding up. So kudos to Pumps. Like, subscribe, comment. We'll be back later with some more shitty news.
Child, I'll be sitting back here laughing. The mic be off. I'll be back here laughing. They have me rolling because they're so real and I love it. I love the energy. I love listening to their podcast, y'all. If y'all have not checked them out, like I said, it's iHip News, and they also have the I've Had It podcast. That's Jennifer and Pumps. And y'all, they be going in. And like I said, like we all can have different spiritual beliefs. As you see, like Jennifer says, she's like atheist Democrat. Like, so you know what I'm saying? Like, but when having the conversation and talking about pertinent things, we still can't all be on the same page when it comes to that. Even if we may have different, backgrounds or spiritual beliefs of all different kinds of unique things. You know what I mean? They're hilarious. Me and Mom love watching them. We watch them together and we just be cracking up. Like, they are too funny. And they see all of the things that you want to say. They say all of the things that I want to say. I promise you they do. I'll be like, yo, they be giving me life. For real, for real. But anyway, y'all, we're going to get into our final subject in just a moment. But I wanted to go ahead and just give a few final thoughts and wrap up this one because it is quite serious. We're talking about Project 2026, okay? And it is being described as a open war on women's rights with a specific focus on dismantling the political influence women have built over the last century. So, how is this happening? Number one, they're definitely trying to make it harder to vote. So, the Save America Act, a cornerstone of 2026 agenda, is the requirement for documentary proof of citizenship to register. While that sounds very simple, studies show that millions of women do not have easy access to their original birth certificates. Now, we also have the name change trap. For millions of women whose current legal name, married or divorced, does not match their birth certificate, this law creates an expensive and time-consuming paperwork loop. They may be required to produce multiple marriage licenses or court orders just to prove that they are the person that is on their ID. Imagine all of that nonsense that you got to go through just so you can vote. Now, they also are trying to eliminate mail-in voting. So Project 2026 pushes to end no excuse mail-in ballots. Statistically, women, especially working mothers and caregivers, rely on the flexibility of mail-in voting more than any other demographic. Removing this option effectively forces a choice between a paycheck or childcare or a vote, right? Because mothers, women, caretakers, even disabled women and elders will have a lot of difficulty when it comes to voting if they remove this entirely. Let's talk about the voter roll purges. The plan calls for aggressive maintenance of voter lists every 30 days, and critics argue that this is designed to catch voters off guard, especially those who have recently moved or changed their names, leading to them being turned away at the polls on election day. Why is this happening? Well, like I told y'all, the mindset of the past, the mindset of the 1950s being rebirthed, restoring the natural family. The Project 2026 blueprint explicitly states that the nuclear family, defined strictly as a married man and woman, is the only path to a thriving America. Disincentivizing independence. There is no overt hostility in these documents towards women that are in higher education and the professional workforce. By cutting student loans and child care subsidies, the goal is to encourage women to marry younger and prioritize childbearing over a career or political activism. So, there's a power shift that they're trying to put into place. The underlying mindset is that independent women represent a radical voting bloc. By creating hurdles to voting and financial independence, the administration's supporters believe they can return the country to a traditional structure where the head of the household carries the primary social and political weight, meaning the man. Now, what is the potential harm of this? Y'all, we can come up with all of our own explanations and ideas of that, but let me go ahead and just read a few things through for you. So the harm here isn't just a missed vote. It is a systematic erasure of the female voice in government. When you make it harder for a specific group to vote, you ensure that their needs, like reproductive health care, equal pay, and education, are never addressed in the halls of power. It is an attempt to take the 19th Amendment and make it a luxury rather than a right. Now, there are some people out there that are supporting this, and let's get into why. Supporters of these changes argue they aren't anti-woman, but they're pro-family. They believe that the modern way of life has led to a declining birth rate and a social decay. To them, these voting and policy hurdles are necessary to protect the sanctity of the vote and redirect the country toward what they may consider a more stable, traditional moral compass. Meaning, I guess they feeling like, there's too many independent women that may be single mothers or just single period that are, entrepreneurs and things of that nature and don't have a traditional husband, children, home, let the man lead, you cook, shut up, all of that type of stuff. And that's just in my personal opinion and how I'm breaking this thing down, right? There's women that thrive, right? They want to be, single with maybe no children, single with children, business women, entrepreneurs, not necessarily having to have a man in the life. Then that also spills into the LGBTQIA plus community, right? Because there are some women that they may want to be married, but they want to be married to a woman. Or there are some women that say, they may not identify as a woman. They may more so identify as a man, so then there's all of that. We won't get into that. That's a whole nother conversation for another live. But you think about all of these differences that we have and where we are now and these expressions that we can have now in our current day and time that has made people feel more free, that have made people feel more like themselves, that have made people feel more comfortable. And when we're looking at, these type of stipulations, such as this Project 2026 and what they're trying to do, that's literally something that can be put into place to try and reverse all of that, right? Or make you feel bad that is your choice and decision on how you want to live your life, and exclude you from being able to use your voice when it comes to things that are important, such as our government, our political scene and sector. We need to be able to use our voice to tell y'all people what is important to us, what we want y'all to put in place, things you need to change, things you need to fix. We have voices to say that. And what this is basically giving is that if you're living your life a certain type of way as a woman that's not in the traditional format that they feel as though it should be in, then your voice and your vote doesn't matter. And if you do try to continue to have one, we will make it as difficult as possible for you for it to be able to be submitted and go through. That's what I'm getting from it. You know what I'm saying? So Project 2026 isn't just a single election. It's about a cultural revolution. It's a bet that if you can control the ballot box and the checkbook, you can control the future. For those fighting back, the message is clear. The right to vote wasn't a gift. It was a hard-won battle, and it's a battle that has officially been reopened for us to have yet all over again in 2026. So when I say, and I do my lives and stuff, and I say this, and y'all probably hear me say this a lot, that within this administration, and especially with Trump, that they are obsessed and they are trying to take us back, right? To like the 1800s and, those times where we did not have these freedoms, right? Women especially, but other things as well, how things used to move and operate and be structured. It's almost like they want to go back to that original structure. So is that what make America great means? That you want to take it back to those days and those times? Because each little piece that we keep seeing that they're trying to change and shift and manipulate, it is giving that you are trying to take things back to the past and make it how it used to be instead of how it is right now. So y'all let me know what y'all think about that. But anyway, we know what we're going to tell these people when it comes to these type of conversations. What are we going to tell them, y'all? We ain't going back. So let me go ahead and take this quick song break. After the song break, we will get into our final topic for the live, and we'll be talking about Afroman. And child, he put the cops on blast. We got to get into it. And then it's something about some lemon pound cake. That sounds real good right now with a cup of milk. I could use me a slice of lemon pound cake. But anyway, we will be right back. Let me go ahead and play this song, y'all. And we will get into the next topic in just a moment.
Hey, you pretty love, no pretty stage, just a mirror. One, the deaf pay attention. Check the manifest, they drag us from the coast. Middle passage madness, where we lost the most. Packed in hoes like cargo, spirits in a cage. Built a brand new nation, lived a life of rage. Yeah, we were the property, the 3/5 compromise. Picked the cotton, built the White House with our hands inside. And they watered all the poplar trees with our blood and cries. Yeah, you know what they were for beneath the southern skies. That strange fruit hanging message of their hate. A simple wrong look was enough to seal your fate. To my brown kin, they just stole it, called it manifest. Killed the Aztecs, stole the planes, put them to the west. Good old days, the signs on the wall. They want us broken, silent, waiting for the call. They wanna push us backwards, drag us down to hell, but we ain't going back, not going back. We ain't going back. We ain't going back. We ain't going back. Let's talk about a word. Let's talk about a word. See how it sticks. 6 letters, COLORED to politics. Not a person, just a label, just a shade on a chart. A legal way to tear a whole damn race apart. Colored water fountain, colored waiting room, colored entrance round the back, a social living tomb. Jim Crow was the law, man. Segregation was the tool. Taught a child to hate his own skin before he went to school. And it ain't just here, that's the global view. Apartheid, colonization, yeah, they did it there too. That word was a weapon, a boot on the neck to say you live, you die, you move at our check. They want the good old days, the signs on the wall. They want us broken, silent, waiting for the call. They wanna push us backwards, drag us down to hell, but we ain't going back. 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 Don't you dare say it's repeating. It never stops. They just got new suits, new slogans, new cops. They ban the books that tell the truth of Act 1. They call a protest riot soon as the marching's done. They tell us get over it, it wasn't us. While they build the same systems of them and us. Gerrymander the district, choke the money from the school. Praise the good old days while they fill the modern jails. This is the warning, this is the last thing. We learned your lessons, now we understand. We are the children of the ones you couldn't break. We are the dream that you could never ever take. We are the fire you tried to douse with ice. We paid the cost, we ain't gon' pay it twice. You want us back in chains, you want us on our knees. We'd rather die right here standing on our feet. This ain't a threat, this is a promise we fulfill. We ain't ever going back. We'll fight you tooth and nail.
Hey y'all, okay, so I'm back. I hope y'all like that song, y'all. I think I'm gonna make a little remix to that too, but I'm gonna change up the lyrics a little bit, make it just, a little bit more across the board, because they trying to make us go back to a lot of things, and we're not going to do it, period. So they can keep fighting against us if they want to. But y'all, we're getting to my favorite part of the live, and we're going to do this real quickly here. We cannot play all of it, but we will play some of it so y'all can get just a gist of what is going on when it comes to this topic. But child, Afroman has been out here, and he is a rapper, and he has been making a lot of headlines. So basically, Afroman has put the cops on blast. And apparently there was some type of court case that was happening, and I believe he won that said court case. So we're going to go ahead and get into that, and we will let none other than Reese Waters talk a little bit about what's going on when it comes to that. And if y'all have not checked out his channel either, I think y'all should do so, because he's really dope as well. He used to be a stand-up comedian. He's very funny. He talks about the politics. He keeps it real. And so he's covering a bit of this story. So let's go ahead and listen to a little bit of this, y'all, together. I will meet y'all in the chat, and then we'll do our final synopsis and summary, wrap everything up. And then y'all know we'll be right back at 4:30 because we got something really great planned for y'all with Imani. So, all right, y'all, let's go ahead and get into this, and I'll see y'all in the chat.
So does it paint you in a false light? Yes, that my wife is cheating on me with Mr. Foreman. But we all know that's not true, correct? I don't know.
Oh, come on now, dog. Come on. You just said y'all are literally police officers and you acting like you don't know how to testify? What you mean you don't know? And you saying it's painting him in a false... Y'all didn't have no pretrial? Y'all didn't work on nothing? Your whole testimony is disorganized as the raid. Shout out to all the subscribers and the members here on the channel. And don't forget to like the video. My name is Reese Waters, and this is Who Raised Y'all, where we highlight those unique individuals going above and beyond to make society worse.
Okay, now, watch the physically challenged officer come in here. He gonna take a double take on the pound cake. Look at the pound cake.
You know, the kinds of people you'll see asking to speak to the manager at the pearly gates.
I want to talk to the manager.
Now, typically, I'm the only one that's allowed to sing around here. You know what I mean? This like being in my car. More than a woman. Ah! You know what I mean? I'm the only one allowed to sing, but game recognized game.
Afroman will bring it to ya. Afroman is gonna do ya. Afroman is gonna screw ya. My proof's on the internet.
Afroman drops a banger before the lawsuit against him goes to court in Adams County, Ohio. Afroman just released Bataram hymns of the police whistleblower a day before the lawsuit heads to court. Whistleblower, you say? Go on.
If I'm telling folks the truth, how come I have to go to trial? Newland's and kids, that's true. Now he's stealing my money too. My proof's on the internet. Afroman will bring it to ya. Afroman is gonna do ya. Afroman is gonna screw ya. My proof's on the internet. Tasha Chamblin is a confidential informant. Roy Gabbard is the judge that signs fictitious warrant. This whole situation is totally their fault. Don't rape me, don't get videoed and caught.
Adams County sheriffs are suing Joseph Foreman for defamation, invasion of privacy, and intentional infliction of emotional distress for featuring them in his music videos from the night they raided and vandalized his house and allegedly stole $400. And the new song and video, he calls the deputies out by name, packed with videos, photos from the raid, and some AI to make it comical. Pretty ballsy. That's pretty ballsy. I would say raiding and vandalizing somebody's house and allegedly stealing $400 is pretty ballsy. You know what I mean? But that's just me. Hey, Afroman, what was you saying?
Afroman will bring it to ya. Afroman is gonna do ya. Afroman is gonna screw ya. My proof's on the internet. Prosecutor David Kelly turned to jelly when they fell. Coward ran to Arizona so he wouldn't catch the hell. Kimmy tried to dodge us. Rogers tried to retire and dip like a rat leaving a sinking ship.
The legal battle stems from a 2022 raid on Afroman's home where officers were investigating alleged drug trafficking and kidnapping claims that resulted in no charges. Afroman used his own security footage from the raid to create videos which mocked the officers and the botched operation. The officers allege that Afroman used their personas for commercial profit without authorization, causing them humiliation, ridicule, mental distress, and loss of reputation. They're seeking damages of $25,000 per count. Loss of reputation, huh? Loss of reputation? That's interesting because reputation is something that can be restored with transparency. That's something that can be restored. You got to take that up with your national organization. You remember when we was all out here and we was talking about transparency and building a bridge with the communities you serve, and y'all were like, how dare you challenge us? That's how that goes. Yeah.
Should have freedom of speech. I should be allowed to sing about my life. And police officers that violate my home, steal my money, should not be allowed to sue me.
In August of 2022, Adams County deputies raided the home of Joseph Foreman, better known as the rapper Afroman. They had a search warrant tied to an investigation into possible drugs and kidnapping victims.
They didn't charge me for any crimes. They didn't find no large amounts of marijuana or whatever narcotic they were saying. They didn't find any kidnapping victims.
Afroman was never charged with a crime after the raid. Deputies seized thousands of dollars in cash that was later returned, but Afroman says about $400 was never recovered. The raid also left damage throughout his home, and he says the department told him it was not responsible for paying for the repairs.
The guy started laughing and waddling his head. He goes, "We're not required to do that." And they were unapologetic.
Afroman used his own security footage from the raids in a music video to make money to pay for the damages sustained to his home.
I got freedom of speech, and then I used my personal life to write my music. I was going to clean my room, but then I got out. Will you help me repair my gate? Will you help me repair my door? I'm singing about what actually happened to me.
Deputies who appear in the video are now suing the rapper for the damages caused by their faces being in the videos.
Hey, we raid your house. We steal your money. We disconnect your cameras. Now we need to sue you for saying something about it.
Afroman filed a countersuit for the damages to his home, and Judge Jonathan Hines dismissed those charges in February.
They dismissed all of my claims with the click of a mouse in some little office somewhere without a hearing.
Afroman believes this lawsuit violates his free speech rights as an American and as a working artist in the United States.
As a working rapper that raps for a living and pays taxes to America with rap money, I need raw materials. Raw materials is my life experience.
Speaking of raw materials, I think the most impressive thing about that entire video is that gold car was able to run. That is impressive to me. And let's stay on the topic of raw materials. Y'all could start with making him whole for that raid. Y'all want to help him fix his door and gate? Or he got to take that to song.
Will you help me repair my door?
Cops raid his house for allegedly selling, damage his property, brandish guns on children, turn off his cameras. Did somebody say something about transparency? Huh? Did somebody? I thought I heard somebody say something. Oh, that was me. I knew that wouldn't have been y'all. I knew that wouldn't have been y'all. Fine literally nothing, steal $5,000, only returns $4,600 after being caught. He makes music videos calling them out. Cops sue for defamation, cry like a baby. Yeah. That looks about it. That looks about it. And if anything I know from grade school, crying ain't gonna fix it. Now that just eggs a bully on. I know. I've been bullied for decades. One thing you can do, why don't you tell the teacher? Click up with all your law enforcement agencies. See if they got.
All right, y'all. So Reese's video is about 40 minutes long, and I know we just kind of played just the tip, right? Because I was just trying to let y'all know just a little bit of something that was going on. But I do have to wrap this one up because we do have another one we're going to be doing with Imani. Okay, so I just want y'all to hear a little bit what was going on with Afroman. But yeah, apparently, yeah, he did win that. He won that case. Okay. So a lot of people say that this is a massive win for the culture and the Constitution because rapper Afroman, and his name is Joseph Foreman, which is public knowledge, has officially defeated the 7 Ohio sheriff's deputies who tried to sue him for nearly $4 million. The case was just about music. It was a high-stakes battle over whether a citizen can mock the government when they get it wrong. I mean, the government does get it wrong. And sometimes, yeah, we can put it in a song and mock it and laugh about it. So let's talk about the botched raid, okay? So back in 2022, deputies raided Afroman's home on suspicions of, substances, trafficking, and kidnapping. They broke down his door, terrified his kids, and found absolutely nothing. There were no charges that were ever filed. So he decided that he was going to make a diss track. So Afroman took to his own home security footage of the raid and turned it into a viral music video, including the hit Lemon Pound Cake, which mocked an officer that was caught on the camera who was eyeing a cake at Afroman's kitchen. Now, then there was a lawsuit. The deputy sued him for humiliation, ridicule, and mental distress. Come on, y'all. Claiming his video made them look like crooked cops and ruined their reputation and their small community. Well, child, we need to do a little bit more of that because when it comes to some of these crooked police officers, yeah, they need to be exposed. Anyway, the potential harm of it all. If he had lost, the chilling free speech. If the police had won, it would have set a dangerous precedent. It would essentially mean that if the government makes a mistake or raids your home, you aren't allowed to tell the world about it or criticize them if it just, hurts their feelings. And then also when it comes to silencing artists, it would have effectively banned political parody and satire directed at law enforcement, giving the badge a legal shield against public mockery. Do I think that should be a thing? No. I think if y'all out here doing foolish things and making foolish mistakes, then sometimes we got to laugh at y'all expense and call it out like we see it. So let's talk about the support and why. So law enforcement perspective. This is from the law enforcement perspective. Now, people who support law enforcement, supporters of the deputies argued that their personal lives were destroyed. One deputy broke down in tears in court, testifying that her gender and sexuality was mocked. Come on now. Now, I want y'all to check out, like I said, Reese Waterseeds has an excellent platform, excellent YouTube channel. And so if y'all want to check out the rest of this video, I will go ahead and drop the link for y'all right here, okay? Because I will not be able to play all of it because we'll get to the, he gets to the bottom of the rest of these talking points that I'm reading right now through this entire video, but I just can't play the entire video. But yeah, so like, come on, ma'am, okay? They also argued that even if a raid yields nothing, officers are just doing their jobs and shouldn't be cyber bullied by a celebrity with millions of followers. Oh my God, please stop with the cat. Like, please stop with it. Because we'll get into this in a minute. Now, we also got to talk about the free speech perspective. Afroman's supporters and ultimately the jury as well argued that public officials must expect criticism. In court, Afroman wore a bright American flag suit, standing on the principle that the First Amendment protects the right to put cops on blast, especially when they kick in your door for no reason. And so what was the verdict? Well, on March 18th, y'all, that was just a couple days ago, the jury found Afroman not liable on all 13 claims. He walked out of the Ohio courtroom and told reporters, "I didn't win, America won." We still have freedom of speech. Sometimes we just got to fight against it and fight for it in the right way. So, Afroman's win is a reminder that the power of the camera and the power of the pen are still the best tools we have against government overreach. You can't raid a man's house, find nothing but a lemon pound cake on the table, and try to turn around and sue him for writing a song about his experience. In 2026, the First Amendment still hits a very high note. Okay? So, y'all, that is what we got. That is what we got for this live here. Okay? So, I am going to go ahead and end it with a bop per usual. Let me put this link in the comments real quick for Reese Waters. So, this is the link to Reese Waters' channel. If y'all want to watch the rest of that video there from beginning to end with the Afroman story, you can do it there on Reese's channel. You know, it's everywhere. It's gone viral. So there's a lot of different people, you know, they got the videos up everywhere. But Reese is dope. Like, watch Reese's video about it because I love the way he breaks it down, and I like his commentary as well. He's funny. He's hilarious. He's really dope. So y'all check him out. But yeah, so wow. You see what I'm saying? If we fight hard enough, if we use our intellect, we will not allow these people to get the best of us. We will not do that. You know what I mean? And so I just feel like there's a lot of wins that's happening. You know, I'm seeing it everywhere. Okay, I don't know if y'all are seeing it, but I'm seeing it everywhere. Sometimes it's little small pieces and small corners of places where we see. But yeah. Us as the people who, especially, we know the law, we know our rights, we're not scared or fearful, we're willing to use our voice, we're willing to stand up for what's right. Yeah, we can fight against a lot of this stuff, you know? So yeah, we did cover a lot of ground today, y'all. We talked about a few different topics, from the shifting lines at our airports to the high-stake battles in the courtrooms and the global stage. It's easy to look at these headlines and feel like the world is moving faster than we can keep up. But if there is one common thread in all of these stories, it's that the conversation is not over. Whether it's millions of people organizing for the No Kings marches, the voters standing up for the sanctity of the 19th Amendment, or even an artist like Afroman standing his ground for the First Amendment, we are seeing a massive awakening of civic engagement. People aren't just watching history happen, they are stepping up to write it. The global freeze reminds us that our voices matter locally more than ever. The debates over Project 2026 reminds us that our vote is a hard-won superpower. And the legal victories we've seen that in America, the law still belongs to the people, not just the powerful. So, y'all, as y'all go about your day, remember this. Headlines tell you what's happening, but you get to decide how you respond to them. So we must remember to stay informed, stay compassionate, and most importantly, stay engaged. We aren't just passengers on this journey. We are the ones that are steering the ship. Thank y'all for spending your time with me today and for being part of this community. You know, if y'all like it here, please like, comment, subscribe, and keep coming back for more content over here with Golden. And every now and then, it'll be Mama Warrior with me. And y'all know Mama Warrior got her own channel, and she do her own thing too. But we must remember that knowledge is power, but action is impact. I will see y'all on the next one, which is actually going to be just here in a few minutes. Something very, very special, and someone very, very special that I'll be speaking with. So peace, y'all. Keep standing for the truth. I love you. I appreciate you. And y'all meet me in just a few more minutes. We got some more stuff to talk about. Thank y'all so much, y'all. I'll see you in just a bit. Let me end with this little bop, okay? All right, y'all. Golden out. Bye.
the dawn's early light. It's a new day. What so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming. Hold your head. Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Through the perilous fight. All the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, let it shine. The bombs bursting in air, we won't back down. Gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, it's still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave?
Wait for justice.
We shall overcome. Through the fire and the rain, we still run. We shall overcome. They can't eclipse the light of the sun. Deep in my heart, I still believe we shall overcome someday. Right. Deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. Just a ticking clock in a dark zip pad. But someday feels like it's slipping away. 2020's fixed and we're back in the fray. Look, it's 2026 and the cycle is vicious. They're erasing the progress, making us suspicious. Rolling back the DEI, cutting the light. Targeting the cities in the middle of the night. I see the ice ages moving through the Twin Cities. Another life lost, no mercy, no pity. They say merit-based, but we know the code. It's a heavy weight, it's a long dark road. They're taking King's name, but they're killing the dream. Dismantling the systems, or so it would seem. From the border to the block, the tension is rising, but the spirit of the people, man, is still enterprising. We reclaim the day, we reclaim the street. You can hear the revolution in the home someday. We're still here, 2026, still fighting. Someday is now.